What is up, people? I did it again. What is that, you ask? I murdered my keyboard again. Had a cup of soda, put it down between the mouse and the keyboard. Bam. Man down. So I just like to give just a small moment of silence for the keyboard I murdered again. May it rest in computer heaven. Does anyone know how long a moment of silence is supposed to last? I'm not 100% sure. Oh well. Anyway, what's up, guys? How you doing? Believe it or not, though I am late due to keyboard failure, pretty much have everyone who needs to be on the panels for the beginning to be here. They all have the links. I'm pretty impressed with myself that all that preparation was done 30-45 seconds ago rather than, as I talk. So yay me. Maybe one day I'll remember to stop putting soda on top of my fucking table, and I'll stop destroying stuff. God, I can't stand. Why do I do that? Grizz, I've gone through 6 keyboards in the past 2 years due to soda spills. But let me say what's up to everyone in chat. Grizz, what's up, my friend? See, that's the thing. Most of the pictures that go into my thumbnails are ones I find. Every once in a while, when it's like usually topic based, like really specific topic, most of the time I use my own observations for those. So it'd have to be random asking me and me saying, yeah. Fight Deception, what's up, my friend? It's a long time no see. I checked out your link, and it's I don't really think an author's book and unfortunately publications that would cost me money. I've paid $20 to view it once type shit. I refuse. What's up, Travis? Thank you. I put the link in Skype so you can come in anytime. Gleem, I even sent you a link in the Discord to talk to you about a couple of images I'm going to look at and that I've seen you use before, or I've seen used before. All right, what's up, they and them? What's up, Sean Hawkins? All grumpy as hell. What's up, Travis? How you doing, sir? Oh yeah. All right, let me get through the saying what's up to everyone in the chat. What's up, Amy? How you doing? Thank you for being here. What's up, Mav64? They and them. How you doing? I think I said it just now already. What's up, Gleem? Like I said, your link to the hangout is in the server. Please come on by. What's up, Curtis? Gin smell. I'm not sure. Feeling trolly. We'll see how you can do in there. What's up, Ali B? Again, it may not be your term, but the way you explain the ether blanket just warmed my heart. See if that's it. Hey, what's up, Hannah? How you doing? I am on time when I'm not on time. That's just how I roll, and everyone should expect it. What's up, B-Ball? Who else is there? What's up, Bearded Devil? Or AKA Erebus. And They Lie Ohio, what's up? Oh my god, there's a whole more list. Okay. What's up, Pip? And True Blue? Yep, that's it. I think I got them all. Yeah, see, gotta do that earlier. Okay, so here's the main reason for today's stream. I showed some images that were shared in my hangout of a observation made from multiple distances at the salt flats. And these images were to show what was hidden due to curvature. Well, in that discussion, my friend here, Travis, who I consider a friend, so I hope we'll both keep this 100% respectful.
Giggle. Tee-hee.
Why you gotta be like that, Travis? Trying to get people together to, be friendly and respectful. Friends, okay? Friends. Best friends. In you. The end. Okay. And Travis had issues with this because he believes, and I'm not going to even say it, he believes that atmospheric optics are the reason for obstruction on the mountains. Unfortunately, those observations to me depict something that makes that not the case. Travis had a live stream where he discussed it. Again, he tried to get me there so we could have a discussion and not be just him saying whatever he wanted. So don't think it was that way at all. I watched it again, Travis, and I don't think it's necessary to watch it again. I mean, you're pretty adamant about what it is, that's for one, and your explanation is very, very limited. And when I say limited, I mean you couldn't go into detail about why that atmospheric optic is playing part. I don't think you're allowing yourself to do it is the issue. I'm not sure if you agree with me on that one.
Do you want me to join in right now, or you just want to do your opening?
Oh, no, go ahead. No, I just meant after the intro. Oh, you're good to go.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you were, pausing for me to respond.
Oh, my apologies.
I don't need to if you... No, I don't need to if you want to keep talking.
No, go ahead.
So, I think that I elaborated on some of the anomalies that Danielle, Aaron, and I noticed in the photos. There were plenty of them, but one of them that I'll point out, I think it was the second image underneath the one with the truck, where the very left part of the image was clearly spliced.
Okay,
so it wasn't a normal landscape in the image. And I'll wait for you to look at it if
I'm gonna
pull it up
right now. I'll bring all of them up. I gotta bring them up on my computer rather than just the OBS. I have them on OBS, but you won't be able to see them, so I'm just gonna share them on.
Oh, I've got them memorized. They're photographed into my mind.
That's kind of scary.
Into my brain.
It scares me, Travis. You should be having other things in your brain.
Oh, I have other things as well.
That's what scares me. I don't remember where the hell I put them.
Put the Gleem.
I know. I'm going to just do it the easier way. Hang on. So everyone gets to see it equally. Alright. So I'm just going to go to images. And there we go. We'll do it this way. Alright. These are the images, and I'm going to share my OBS screen with you guys. Okay. So, you're not talking about this image. You're speaking on...
No, the one that's below it.
Yeah, I gotta get my mouse back over there. Hang on. Alright, okay. So, talking this one.
Yeah, that left-hand side, you've got a clear, 90-degree angle.
Oh, the line.
At the left, yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
okay.
That to me is not in the initial image.
In the initial image.
The
Yep,
one
it's
with
there.
the truck in it.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. You don't have a 90-degree angle. Look
Oh,
at how
no,
big
no,
the
no.
angle
Oh,
is.
yeah. I definitely think that's either what do you call it? Like maybe if they're taking a picture of a picture, maybe it's folded. I don't know. Or it could just be where they cropped it or something. Oh,
Well, yeah, but nonetheless, it's manipulated, in my opinion. I don't think that that's... And the way that I explained it was that in the images that I've taken, there are times where I can't fit, due to the aether band, I cannot fit within my field of view what I could the day before, so I have to take 2 or 3 different snapshots in order to get everything in. And in my opinion, that's what happened in this image. They couldn't fit the whole mountain range in, so they had to take 2 images, and they did a shit job of their cropping on the left.
I agree. So guess what?
My opinion on that.
In my opinion, you're right. So let's throw that one out. That doesn't exist anymore. Okay, we'll just use these ones then. What about these?
Well, again, to me, I can see that they're not scaled the same way. And
But I showed you I could do this right. So
no, that doesn't matter. So this is what Jose did with his tower, with his lighthouse. If you're moving away from the mountain, it should be getting smaller. There's no reason for you.
Yeah, there's a reason. I can tell.
There's no. Hold on.
Okay.
There's no reason for you to zoom in until you get the scale correct, because that's not the scale at 59 kilometers. That's not the scale.
You're 100% right. It's zoomed in more.
This is
every time the photographer took a picture, he zoomed in to make the mountain size the same for a good reason. To show not the size of the mountain, but what can be seen of the mountain.
You don't have enough detail to do that, Shawn.
From this picture to this picture, I say you're wrong.
You can't resolve anything at the horizon line of the dark lower image with the mountain range.
Oh, no. It's because it's gone. Matter of fact, right above the K.
No, it's not.
Right above the K, you see
Shawn,
a smidge of something. That is the tip of that mountain. Right there. That part is this.
Yeah, go to. Yeah. Is that the farthest kilometer measurement?
Yes. Yep. The one.
Okay, so go up to the next one. Go to the next one.
There you go.
No, whatever the next. Yeah. See, look at that. Look at the space between the main mountain range and that little nub that you were just pointing to. It's gone.
I'd say around between the 7 and then the K is usually is right at the tip of that mountain. So if we go here, look, right around the beginning of a little bit of that mountain is lost, but it starts around the numbers, and at the middle of that K is the tip of that mountain.
That's not the point.
It is the point.
That's not the point. No. That's not the point I was making.
What's the point?
The point that I was making was that between the very left of the mountain range and that nub, there's a dramatic space there. See, like right there, you can see land from. You can see a mountain range connecting the smaller mountain range. Okay, but then when you get down to the 83 kilometers,
yep,
it is exaggerated and blended in and blurred.
No, Travis. No, it's gone.
No, that is not the same image. Look at that image is magnified and stretched more than the 70 kilometers above it.
It's just zoomed in more.
And it's distorted.
Well,
it's distorted. It's not gone.
It's zoomed in enough to match the size as the previous image.
That is.
I can show you again, Travis. I can show you these things.
Distorting. You don't need to show me.
Oh, I do need to show you. Because
it's the interpretation of the information that we're looking at, Shawn.
You're saying that the mountain is not the same. It's the same. It's a mountain. The only difference is every time the observer goes further away, you lose more of the mountain. Now at 83 kilometers, yeah, you're right. There's going to be some atmosphere involved, and that's probably why we don't have as much resolution. But the thing about this image is, it has nothing to do with resolution. It has nothing to do with the size of that mountain. The only thing it has anything to do with is that every time you go further away, you lose actual mountain.
No, you don't lose actual mountain. It's the mountain. All of the mountain is still there, Shawn. It's
not
everything.
in your not that you can see.
That I would agree with. The reason why we can't see it is where you and I are going to disagree.
And that would be atmosphere.
For me, yes.
Okay, then I have a question. Now, to pose this question, unfortunately, I do have to bring back our wonderful number 40. Clear day. Also, why didn't 70 work? Oh yeah, because I have it. Okay, hang on. Messing with it. There you go. So, 70 and 40 are clear days.
Yeah, but look at the change in the mountain.
Okay.
You're totally blinking
So,
that, and
how about this?
There's a total.
Are you saying
in the way?
on this one that atmosphere plays a factor in why we can't see the mountain perfectly?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd agree. But why, in this day, which is just nice and clear, is it that we see less anyway?
That's because there is, if I was going to classify something, which I haven't started classifying, there are effects that are the opposite of magnification. What would you use for that? Diminishing? Shrinking? It's not shrinking. It's
compression.
It's the opposite. Compression. Okay,
yeah,
so compression. So the atmosphere is compressing. It's making it smaller. I would say that when you get down to the 83, there's actually magnification, the opposite.
How does that actually cause obstruction, though?
Well, because it's a distortion of the image itself. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so your question. Hold on, real quick. I'm sorry. Your question seems to be asking, can there be more than one effect happening? And that my answer to that is yes. So it's not just magnification; it's also obstruction. It's also distortion. It's also, numerous other options that we could talk about. But that's where the kind of work that I would have to do hasn't been done yet.
You can see it in the car on the left-hand side. The dark little patch that looks like a UFO.
And if everyone knows that Gleem is here, he came in a little while ago.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Salute, Truth Army.
Thank you, sir. Hashtag it's just math.
But yeah, if you can see just on your 70-kilometer one, on the left-hand side, you've actually got that little squashed down dark patch. I beg that's
inside
the car.
The mountain, right?
There,
in the mountain.
And that's in front of the mountain. I think.
Find out.
I think that's the car.
Try to find out.
I'm only saying that based on the tire tracks going towards there.
You know what? I'd probably agree.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, see,
man.
that's where even I would not be happy. That's right, but there's another image where that smudge is there as well, and it's not the same size. But that's where part of my I can't see it very well right now, but that's where part of my critique in this whole thing is that we don't have any information. We don't have any information on whether or not this was a single individual, what camera lenses he was using, what his camera height was, all of those kinds of details that you guys would require of me. This guy's got none of that.
I don't see why he needs it. Yeah, it's in this picture too.
Well, if the camera height was different each time, that would make the.
I don't think he left the camera there. I don't think he left the truck there the whole time, in my opinion. But that's again, I don't know.
Yeah, that looks a bit worse there. That does look a bit worse, as if it isn't a car right in that one, the 59 one, because it's. I don't know the back bit.
I'll get into it. Go to it. You there? I wouldn't say there was a car there either. Nah. I think it's part of the mountain.
Yeah.
And because we're closer, we're getting more detail of what that is. Let's go to the other ones. What those are. This one could have been where he cropped it out. I don't know. Matter of fact, I can kind of see it a little bit in that one.
But again, my part...
It's a panorama.
My point is that there's not enough There's not enough data information for us to.
Well, there is. I mean, we know the distances, and actually, I think his observer height was 6 feet because this actually came from one of those little meme things. I can go
I'm
find
just
it
going
real
to be
quick.
a stickler. You think doesn't mean that it is.
Oh, okay, you're right. I'll go find it.
We can assume either way and then do some calculations.
Yep.
Do you know the mountain?
Yeah.
And
Hang on.
how big it is?
Let me get that stuff up here. I gotta get everything up back on. Hang on. Give me a second. Turn that one off. Oh no. Not really sure what I just did, but it was not good. Okay. Okay. Fixed it. Okay. I got it. Whew. All right. So let me go find that meme. Shit. Didn't want to do that. Where is it? And go in my history. That'd be the fastest way. So, but hang on. So let me get this straight. You're fixated on the size of the mountain, but you are ceding to the fact that less of the mountain is being seen, though, right?
Yes, but it's the determining factor. Is that the angle of view? Is that atmosphere involved? Or is that curvature? And that's the ultimate question.
Okay, when you saw the images, would you say that the 2 clear days versus the other days that definitely I would even agree say have a different or have atmosphere playing a factor in the photo, but why is it still uniformly
okay? Well, if you take it as the ether band, and let's just call it that thin strip, which is on the horizon, on your eye horizon, which is running a long line, the whole of the bottom of that mountain, where the mountain floor meets the floor. Okay, and it's if you can think of it as it's an atmospheric effect. Have you ever seen on Ranty's ferry videos where as the ferry is going away, the actual letters get pushed downwards and the whiteness of the ship at the top gets stretched out and pushed downwards with it. So it just becomes basically a white ship, and the Stena link, whatever the writing was on the side, disappears or merges into one, and then it just becomes a white ship, even though it was only a little tiny proportion above the actual waterline of the ship, which is actually letters.
I just realized something. If in those images, the observations we're looking at, if it was atmosphere or distance, when the cameraman zooms in to make the mountain the same size, how come that doesn't bring any of the mountain back?
Because of your angle and your limited view of the floor.
Well, I would say it does bring it back. It
as
does,
well as
but you
effect.
can't see it because it's being distorted.
What about in the clear days that we have, the 2 days?
Yeah, right. That's just because you have a clear day doesn't mean that there's no atmospheric effect on what you see at distance.
Well, that's
you
going
can't
to be
eliminate it.
You're right, but those are going to be the days that you would have the least amount of
no,
effect. Why?
That's where. Okay, listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have been out as often as I have, you would not make that statement. That is a statement from ignorance, Shawn.
What?
It's absolutely false.
Why?
It's absolutely false.
Why is that a statement from ignorance?
Because you don't know what you're talking about. I've seen clear
you?
days. Yes, I do. I've seen absolutely clear, pristine days.
You've said numerous times that you don't know enough and you had to look into it. So now you're telling me that you know enough about atmosphere to explain why a clear day can't see more than on a hazy day.
No, I'm saying that I can tell you that on clear days, I don't see clearly. You're
No,
saying.
I didn't say that. That's not what I said at all. Don't even.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I'm
Okay.
saying, hang on. I'm saying on a clear day, you should be able to see more of the mountains than you see on a hazy day.
And I'm telling you, you're wrong.
No, that's what you're saying.
Right.
So you're saying if it's atmosphere. So if it's atmosphere, when there's less atmosphere, atmospheric optics even happening, then why wouldn't I see more of the mountain on those days?
Because your qualification of less atmosphere has no meaning.
Okay, so you're telling me that a hazy day has
What's hazy?
Haze. You know what haze is? Like pollutants.
I'm asking you what
fires, anything, any particles in the sky that would limit the your atmospheric optics. That's haze. Mist would be like fog, rain.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I thought you should know these things if you're.
I'm asking. No. I'm not trying to be ignorant. I'm just simply trying to understand what you mean by the term. That's all.
Okay.
So if you watch any of my streams, when I have haze, I tell my audience, and the haze that I have in my area predominantly is what I will attribute to chemtrailing. It's just absolutely milky white shit. Okay.
I wouldn't do that.
I know. Okay, I don't really give a shit.
I hate that phrase. It's not even true.
That's fine. That's fine. It's not haze. It's not like smog in LA, right?
Well, that's what haze. Okay. Do you know what haze is?
Okay, listen. I'm not trying to be clinical. Okay,
well,
I'm just describing
it because haze. This is again one of those.
This is not right now. I don't.
This is why I brought it up, and you do because just like atmospheric optics or your ether band, which is the same thing. Once you say that to somebody and they need more detail of what you're observing or what's happening in the observation, you then need to have answers. And when I say haze isn't everything that makes haze, or haze isn't one thing. Haze is a group of particles that happen from different situations. The only real term of it is it's a particle, a dry particle to be precise. So when I say haze, it could be almost anything. It could be pollution. It could be fire.
It's an increase in density. It's an increase in density of the medium that you're looking through.
Well, due to particles.
It can be whatever. Yeah, it can be whatever.
Particles,
more particles.
It's not going to be fog. It's not going to be mist.
It could be vapor. No.
Yeah. That's considered one. You're right.
Yeah, and so what I would say, Shawn, is the majority of my experience on the Chesapeake is 2% haze, 98% not.
Now, is that your analysis, or is that you get that from somewhere?
Okay, so when I look up any information in Chesapeake for temperature and whatnot, the only thing that I will get is possibly visibility, right? 10-mile visibility, 5-mile visibility.
I can hook you up with some websites that will give you everything.
Okay, that's great. But in terms of, again, haze, I've been out there on some pretty amazingly clear days, and I was absolutely blown away at how much distortion and blockage that there was. I'm just telling you.
Which is
call it whatever you call it whatever you want.
The thing is, refraction is another one of those things where it's one of those terms that doesn't mean one thing. It's a blanket term for anything that has to do with miraging, imaging, way light works. So again, I mean, I say refraction, but then I would ask you what other, like time of day. All these things matter because if just you giving us the time of day, the temperature, the time of year, what else, guys? Water temperature. We could tell you exactly what produced that image or produced that optic.
You might be able to break down the constituent parts of temperature and water temperature and all of those, but you can't predict the image that's going to appear.
No one said anything about predicting an image.
Okay, I'm just being clear in terms of what my understanding is and what I've heard from you guys.
Okay.
Because so okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say the image that you pulled up there can't work with because he's at different zoom levels, and he hasn't recorded them or put them there.
What?
Obviously,
I'm sorry.
zooming in to get the picture the same size.
Right.
Yeah, to do an angular size per pixel or anything like that is you can't compare it.
Well, oh, wow. Okay, so I should have came to this website instead of going to the other one I went to, because this one actually shows a very, very, very detailed
It's
imagery
doing a
of it.
mirror image from an imaginary line that they don't know is the actual line.
I'm sorry, man. This is, I mean, he has 19 pictures, and in every picture, which incrementally goes away and is in different atmospheric conditions for almost each one. Man, I'm sorry. That's.
If you could link that for me, that way I can look at the images later.
I have seen that one before.
So how would you adjust anything that you've said so far, Gleem? Would you stand by what you've said so far, or change it?
I would say that there is the optical effect of angle of view. So some of the floor could be blocking that, as well as atmospheric effects. In all of them, you can't get rid of that. You're right. But there is in the same way as I said, on an extreme day, it could pull everything down. So it's pulling the sky behind down and creating that effect, whereas it's still there behind the effect. And obviously increase distance, increase atmosphere.
1 second.
What he's just basically doing is a complete geometric or symmetrical comparison. And you can take that. You can take that as, yeah, there's bits missing, the further with distance. But has he accounted for any angular distortion from your perspective, from distance? All cameras suffer from that. And that's what I was going to point out. I mean, if you go to just standard wiki, perspective distortions photography, you just go on that, it's got a perfect picture to show you.
He's got a lot of information here. He's got the topo and feature map.
Yeah. How high is that? The peak? There we go. 5321.
I'm thinking got to be the tip of the mountain is about 5,000. Oh, okay, it says the main peak is 500 or 5,321 meters above sea level. And it's
so they're not at sea level though.
No, hang on.
It says
and then
it says
1665. 1,665 meters above Celerity or the flats.
So where they're on, they're on the flats, aren't they?
They're on the flats, yes.
So it's 1665 meters.
So from the peak on the right, that small peak that we see disappearing, or that I'm using it connected it almost looking, that peak is 484 meters above the flats. We'll use above the flats right now.
So that's the side peak.
Yep.
They're just going off raw angular size. Should be. What's the furthest? 83 kilometers, wasn't it there?
Yeah.
83.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you can't just be clinical about what the angular size is going to be, because you have to understand the atmosphere is not going to cooperate with that measurement.
You would agree that
that's it.
What we're doing now.
That's the geometric.
That's what we're doing now, though. So.
No, but you can't. So this is my whole challenge. I'm going to restate this again and again and again with Barney. Just because you're going to crunch your numbers and then I show you the image on that day, so Barney crunches his numbers and says, okay, this is what I expect to see, and then I show him my picture, he either has to say, yep, that's exactly that picture that you're showing me is what I just showed you in math. They're the same thing. They're communicating the same idea. And that's, I don't believe, impossible. It's not possible to do that.
Wait, I'm not. So
Okay.
you're coming up. So you and Barney's thing. I have no idea what that's about. I'm talking. Why do we see less and less of the mountain the further away we get? And obviously, the atmosphere that does change is giving us a uniform obstruction loss every time we move back. If it was the atmosphere, Travis, it would be varied. Our observation would be very. Okay, so you're going to tell me. We'll go back to those ones. You're telling me in here.
That's what I said that night in the hangout.
Okay, here's 19 now. Instead of 5, we have 19. Show me where, as I go down, the image that shows more of the mountain.
It's not that it shows more or less. It's how it shows it. It's how it shows it. It's stretched. It's compressed. It's magnified.
No.
I already explained.
No. It definitely matters, and it definitely is a question that I'm asking.
Sean. Okay, Sean. Look at number 9 and number 8. There's clearly a difference between the mountain range above the land on the very right. There's clearly a difference between 59 and 46 kilometers.
You're right.
It doesn't. It's not. It's not even.
And what's the difference?
Look, it's not showing you the same scale, Sean. It's not uniform.
No. It is the same scale. That's what he's trying to express. He's trying to express that he has zoomed in to get the same scale, but showing that less is being seen.
But then 7 and 8 are the same distance, and they're showing different amounts.
Yeah, because they're This is showing different atmosphere, so different conditions during the day.
That's it. Look at the peak on the right hand side.
Okay.
You see one of them looks more bulbous.
So you're saying
number eight looks more like a watch, if you know what I mean. It's like a straight strap on the right hand side. Sorry. The peak bit, the 484 side peak. Yeah, this. So this looks more like a sound wave that you see, where it's getting louder. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then the one below looks more like a watch, where the middle bit of the peak is not rounded off, but it is more squashed. So that's
same to me. That's me.
To me, it looks more pointy on the number 7, as in a smooth wave looking form, whereas on the other one it looks like it's a straight line and then it bumps up right in the middle.
Maybe it's because it's not as clear of a day, so you're getting
it's like detail. Rounded off the peak. It's like rounded off the peak. Maybe. If you look down on the next two ones that
but that's not an insignificant detail to note, Sean.
Yeah, it is. Actually,
that's my point.
That'd be a very valid point. It being
that's what I.
If it's a dark. If
that's what I said.
Darker, you're. That's what I said. But see, that's detail. Again, we're talking detailed resolution. That's something you see with resolution. Again, the bulk of this image is what we're showing. You're trying to get into these different things like its size. No, they're the same size. I've shown you that. I overlaid them on purpose.
How can you have the same size when you're moving away from it, Sean?
You zoom in.
No.
Gleem, come on, man. Like, seriously?
Can you load up perspective distortion? Because you'll see what I mean. There is a magnification effect that happens in the background, even though that you need reference objects and whatnot. But if you go perspective distortions, photography, this will be the first one, and I'd love to be able to trick you. I was in your Discord server earlier on talking to John Watson.
Yeah, and that's kind of what inspired this part.
Yeah, I snidely, deceptively, and admittedly cut half of this picture in half. That very top link, the wiki one. And then if you scroll,
you just all of a sudden just stop talking. Is that me?
Oh, sorry.
Was that it? Yeah. Travis, did he go?
I'm there.
Was he?
Hello.
Did he cut off for
Mic
you?
check.
Or anyone in the chat?
No, I can hear you clear. I can hear you clear.
It was
I heard him.
Okay, then it was my voice meter. Okay, I know what it was now. My bad. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so click on the perspective distortion. Scroll about three pictures down. And it just goes through the basic orthographic to perspective view.
So hang on, I'm sorry. Say that one. Go.
Yep. So on that link.
This one?
On the Wikipedia one. Yep.
Okay.
Top one. Yep. And what I've done is I'll show you how I was deceptive, but this is exactly my view of what the globe earthers are actually doing to the flat earthers. So come down, keep going until you see bottles on the right hand side, a purple and pink one, I think it is. Bit further.
I think I got to it. That wasn't it?
Yep. This is it.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
my bad.
So this is
this. Hang on. Get to it.
Yeah.
There we go.
So what I deceptively done is cut it in half and cut out all those lens sizes. Yeah, and all this guy's doing is he's moving away from it and then zooming in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can see, if I was, let's say, and I've seen conspiracy cats do this, rumpus do this, many people do this, and they just basically say, right, let's pretend that's two mountains, one closer to us, one further away from us. They'll just literally count the pixels and go for what the actual angular size is based on that, and then compare it to the other one.
But that's not what we're doing.
If you can see here though, at different levels, they're zooming in different levels, and it's making the bottles appear completely out of proportion, and that is what perspective distortion is.
But that's not.
It used to be known.
That's not the same situation that's happening in the.
It is, because if you look in the top one, 18 millimeter. Yeah, where is that cord? Is it plugged into the floor, or is it hidden behind the carpet?
Okay, no, but see, here's the thing. There's nothing. That bottle that we're looking at, the red bottle. So just so we clarify, the purple bottle is the mountain.
Yeah.
The red bottle.
That would
we
be
don't
the
have
car.
that. Yeah, we don't. No. That's in one image. That's not in any of the other images to say that's what's happening.
No, but this is what I'm saying. If he's taking it at different distances as well as zooming in differently, then you're going to get a out of proportion measurement, and it will compress in a different way.
But there's no reference frame in any of the other photos. Only just one.
Either way, delete all of those three pink ones. Yeah, and now we're left with the mountain there, and then the side peak on the left-hand side.
But in this situation, it's made to keep the reference frame the same size. We don't have a reference frame to keep the same size.
No, but that's it. Well, if you completely delete, if you cut that image in half just to the right-hand side of the purple bottle, you're left with just the bottle and the wire and the plug socket. Yeah, you've got no reference frame to it at 55 millimeters, obviously. But what would be hiding the cable on the floor? It's got to be the carpet, isn't it? It's got to be the angle of view.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. You can't use this image. You can't cut this image in half and use the same images for the purple bottle in the same argument, because, again, they're not zoomed to make the purple bottle same angular size. They're zoomed to make the reference frame. So that's why the zoom isn't. It's not done for that purple bottle. It's done for the red one. If we take the red one out, then we're just backing off and we're just zooming in on after each picture. We're zooming in more. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, but you get a distorted effect, and that's what I'm saying. The angular compresses in the middle of where the actual carpet meets the actual skirting board. If you look down, you can see what looks like more of the skirting board. Yet there's no distance difference between the two bottles. It's just one guy moving backwards, just exactly the same as you do it on to show how the globe on the blue marbles, one of them's got.
Can I say something?
Such a
because
big thing.
It just came to my mind. If you don't mind my interrupting real quick, Gleem, is that okay?
Go on, carry on.
Okay, so Shawn, if we were up at the top image of the mountain range with the Toyota 4Runner or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we were 100 yards away from the mountain and we took a picture. We were able to get the whole, or let's say this. Let's say we were backed away far enough so that we just were able to get the mountain range in our frame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can see the bottom of the mountain hitting the physical flooring of the desert or wherever we're at. Okay, so we have the scale of the mountain that we want to continually maintain as we move away farther and farther away. So in that first image, we have a pretty pristine, clear image. We can actually see perhaps rocks and boulders at the bottom base as it touches the ground, right? We can see with that much clarity. As you move farther and farther away, you're going to lose that resolution, but it's always still, those physical objects are still going to be there no matter how far away you move. So if you go all the way down to the 83 kilometers and you take a picture and then you scale that picture up because you have to make it the same angular size as from the beginning, you wanted to keep them all the same angular sizes, everything that is in the first image is still in that second image. Everything, even down to the ground.
Then why doesn't the ground do anything as you compress it?
Well, it does. It does.
So if I overlay them again, what you're saying is the more it compresses, the less the outline of that mountain will distort from each other image. So if I overlay them and they don't distort from each other and they're the same dimensions, basically, then what you're saying is wrong already. You understand that, right?
No, it's not wrong. We have to analyze the information and be more precise with the way that we're speaking, which is what the time-consuming aspect of the nature of this whole endeavor is, right? So, no, I'm not wrong.
No. Okay, you're correct. You're not wrong, but it doesn't make your argument correct.
That's fine with me. I'm okay with that ambiguity at this point.
So we can agree that this image does not help.
No, I think that it does. I think that Gleem made his point.
He didn't.
And that's the point.
He made his point. I get that, yes. But I also made it pretty clear why this image that we're looking at has nothing to do with our image, our observation.
And so then I would say that you don't understand what Gleem is telling you.
You're right. And do you want to do it again, Gleem, or do you concede to what I was saying?
Put it this way: if I was in the top image, the 18mm image, and then I stood up, I would see all of that wire, wouldn't I? And I haven't moved distance.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
It does. It's my angle of view to that, and what is in front of me, and how much distance there is in front of me, and that's what the whole of perspective or distance distortion is in photography.
So then, in these three images, why isn't the purple bottle made the same size? Because then if you did that and moved away, there would be something you would see. You would see more or less of this living room.
No, but if you look at it, he zoomed in more to get the red bottle or the pink bottle the same size. But if you can see the distortion,
that's the reference frame. Now, we don't have a reference frame in 18 of those 19 pictures. So this image that we're looking at has what to do with what we're talking about.
Isn't the reference frame in all of those pictures the mountain range itself?
No.
Okay.
The reference frame is if it was in the first image, the truck size is the reference frame, but we don't have that. When we lose the truck, the observer becomes the reference frame, and that's what would change, and we don't have that. But what he's done is basically the only thing in common would be the same thing he did with the red bottle, he did with the mountains. Now, if you can find something else as a reference or something else as a point of interest, go ahead. But
let me ask you this.
That wire was the other point of reference, and it was hidden. Okay. Some of it's hidden, some of it's seen.
That's the problem, though. We don't have an image with reference frames on the other situation. We have images.
No,
this does.
Agreed. This is a poor image.
Now, so
it's just an explanation of the distortion effect.
Well, let me ask you this question.
So that's what I was saying. So, Travis. So in this argument or this discussion, better yet, Gleem's image does not depict what we're looking at in the mountain picture. So when I said what I said just now, it was for a reason, because I understand that at a certain point in especially photography, that there's certain things you need to have in that image to compare it with another image, if that's your explanation for it. This one is not a good one. For what Gleem is talking about, yeah, this is a good image for it. But I'm not going to go away from that image, the mountains. I was looking for something that had the same exact situation. Because, again, this is as simple as it gets, Travis. The only thing that the photographer was trying to do was take away distance or make distance and show what was seen and obstructed every time he moves away from it. That's it. I invited Erebus in because Erebus knows a lot more about how things are perceived. So I figured it'd be better. And I think Shawn and Travis had something going on, so I invited him as well. Yes, I invited certain people to come on in.
Shawn Smith.
Yes, with the guides that everyone is here is going to be respectful, because that's why they're here. So if you
guys,
yeah, if you guys are butthurt that you didn't get a link, be nicer. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone here is involved, and
just to give you a heads up.
Yeah.
Just to give you a heads up, I'm about 3 minutes away from backing in and going into the warehouse, so I'll be listening, but I'm going to be on mute.
Okay, yeah, no worries, Travis. Again, all I wanted to do was have the discussion about it, and we did. So, I mean, I'm not here to pin you down. I'm not here to make you define anything. I just wanted to express our views and what about that mountain was happening and not happening.
Okay.
I mean, we can always go into it more, but because, again, I do enjoy talking to you, so, I mean, you're more than free to have the conversation anytime. And
Giggle.
And if you have time, unmute yourself and come back.
Aye.
Cool. But Gleem, let's go to what I was talking about before.
Yeah.
These images. And you know what? Out of nowhere, I remembered. I'm pretty sure we've done this one before.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so
yes,
the apparent horizon is down, not up.
It appears to pull it up to eye level. As far
not
as
to eye level, but it does appear to have this weird rise. But if I just put an optical tool in front of my eyes, I will instantly know that's not true.
How?
Because it has a self-level inside it. For instance, a peep sight.
Yeah, you're level, but you're not actually looking down. You're still looking the same way as the level. Yeah.
So if I'm standing at the beach,
you mean a dumpy, like a little where you a peep
yeah.
Yeah. So you're still looking at the horizon.
Yeah,
to actually say you're looking down on the global maps is point whatever of a degree.
I know I'm looking down. So just in the fact that I know I'm looking down, I know this isn't correct. When you say
I'm going to agree with Gleem here. You're looking straight ahead. You're not looking down.
Okay, here's the thing. Your eyes are looking down. How do I know this? So if you're standing on the beach at 6 feet and it does that, are you telling me that the water somehow defies physics and does not wash over you?
Not at all.
Okay,
it's your eyes that are doing this.
Exactly, which is why I said instantly, if I put a peep sight or dumpy level
and use your eye
and use my eye to look through that tool, I will instantly know and see that my horizon does not appear to go up or eye level.
Does it immediately go below your feet? As soon as you put your eye in that glass,
goes below my eye level.
It goes from your eye level to below your feet, because it has to go below your feet if it's geometric.
Nope. It literally just has to go below my eye level, and knowing that if that water was 6 feet high, 6 feet higher than my feet, I would be underwater.
No. It's not a physical thing.
You're right.
It's an illusion created by your mind.
Yep.
But the illusion is still there when you're looking through an optical device.
Oh, absolutely not. That's not true at all. Because you instantly... Okay, so if that horizon seems to rise and you look through that device and you see instantly that it does not rise at all, and that you are above that horizon when you're eye level, you instantly know that it's not, and therefore you're not getting an illusion anymore. That's what tools are for. That's why I keep bringing up these tools.
Okay, well, I'll just pop into the side chat in Google.
Let me ask this question. Because all I've heard in terms of this discussion is rhetoric. That is, all I've heard is the description of the event itself. So what we would have to do, Shawn, you and I, is to go to the horizon and do these things and document what we're doing so that we can analyze it. So do you know of anyone who's done that on a channel that has done this instead of just simply describing what the horizon should do with the theodolite and it's not doing this and it's not doing that? Because otherwise, it's just rhetoric.
Okay, how about this, Travis? Fuck everyone who's ever done it. I'm going to do it myself for you. Give me, what's today? I'll do it tomorrow. For you. I'll use a theodolite app I have, and I already figured out if I can do this or not. I already have a little adjustment for like a telescope, so your cell phone can go on it. Well, I figured that out with my peep sight, so you get to look through my peep sight to see exactly what I'm talking about.
And just so that we're clear, I understand that what you are going to see is an apparition. It's not physical, so it will move constantly.
What will move?
The horizon. It's not
What?
physical. It's going to be.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Shawn?
Depending on your altitude, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
No.
Good.
I
Can you do
even
me a
mean-
favor?
Yeah.
Can you click on that link I put in the side chat?
Yeah, let me get over there.
Since some people have an unfortunate application of what perspective is, let's change the vantage point, shall we?
This be the one?
That'd be the one. All you need to do is click on the image, then right click and open image in a new tab, and it'll show a larger one.
Don't tell people how we do it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'd like for Gleem and the Plain Truth to explain this image.
Photograph looking upwards.
I'm backing up right now, so.
Yeah, he's already.
Photograph looking upwards to loads of buildings. Perspective.
Okay. Yeah.
Showing perspective distortion.
You call that a distortion?
Of course, it's a distortion. The buildings don't do that, do they? In real life,
That's not a distortion.
all perspective is distortion.
No, it's not.
So it's real. Shawn was just saying it was. You could get rid of it with a device, and that's what I see with my eye. That's what I see with my eye.
We're not looking horizontal. We're not looking level with our eyes at all in this image either.
That's it. You're looking up.
Yeah, you're looking up.
Mm-hmm. Go on, carry on. What's the point?
Hey, listen. I just want you guys to know that I just nailed it. I just threaded the needle. That's all I'm gonna say.
Did you didn't even feel the bump, did you?
No.
Perfect. I know. I got your back. I know what you're talking about.
So Gleem, explain the image.
It's so disrespectful that everyone just glossed over that. Good job, Travis.
So it's somebody taking a photograph looking upwards. I don't know what more do you want out of this?
So
do you want a count of number of buildings?
So explain why the buildings appear to be converging towards the center of the image.
Because there is a central perspective point. There's a central perspective point where everything converges into.
Okay, so why aren't any of the buildings obscured from the bottom up?
Because there is no surface blocking out half of the view.
What would that have to do with anything?
Because you need a surface?
No. The surface does exactly what those buildings do.
No, they
don't.
They
converge
because they're complete and continuous, and they are your reference point, and they depending on distance and altitude away from it, will show you more or less of it on both models.
Yeah, that really still didn't explain the aspects of the photo and why it would be different if the buildings were laying on the ground.
Because if you, let's for a thought experiment, put you in space, okay, based on your visual acuity of your eye. Yeah?
I'm going to have to stop you there because you're not addressing what I just said.
I am explaining it in an analogy.
Yep, you're trying to use... how about we talk about how the analogy that I just said, what is the difference if the buildings...
This is the analogy I'm giving you. This is the analogy.
I gave you an analogy. I gave you an analogy.
No, you actually gave me an actual photo. And it's not of the horizon with half of the land rising up to eye level. And
I said, how would this be different if the buildings were laying on the side? Meaning, instead of seeing the sky,
because 50% of the image, 50% of the image would be cut out by a continuous land, a reference point.
Yep. Yeah, still no.
Of course it would. That is the difference. Where's the land in there? Where's the horizon line?
This is the problem you're coming
across. Where's the convergence point of a land meeting a sky?
Do you think that's what a convergence point is? Do you think
there is a convergent point right there?
Yep, there is. If you follow all those lines, they converge at a single point.
Land and sky.
What does that have to do with the convert? You see,
we're talking horizon. I think everybody understands what a horizon is. That is not a horizon. That is a zenith.
What is the difference? You're not giving it. How
there's land in one and there is not in the other.
How are the mechanics different?
Because half of the picture is obscured by the land.
Again, no. You keep saying that half the image. Do you understand that no matter where you look, it is always center frame?
I was just trying to explain that, but you didn't want that.
So you can't claim half the image is blocked.
Yeah. Do you not agree that looking upwards is different to looking across land?
No, it's physically not different.
So there's no different objects. Let's now put you in a field. Okay, you look up. There is nothing obstructing in you. There's nothing obstructing you. There's no reference points. That is no different to looking across to a horizon where
it's everything. No different. Perspective works.
I'm going to have to agree to disagree because
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Is that who's talking? Erebus?
Oh, hi, Travis.
No. Is it Erebus?
Yes.
All day long.
Okay. So my question is, what is your argument here? What are you trying to argue?
Oh, it's not so much of an argument. I'm putting a challenge to your understanding of perspective and how you both of you have blatantly misrepresented it. Because the claim that the claim that perspective somehow changes by looking straight ahead as opposed to any other angle is retarded.
Okay,
perspective.
I don't know that I've said that. I don't know that I've said that.
Gleem has. Do you agree? You already said you agree with Gleem, so that pretty much puts you in that same boat.
No, we come from two different perspectives. He comes from the ether band. I come from perspective, and they both are involved in this.
What are your thoughts on the ether band?
And then we danced.
The blanket, you mean? Okay. Now here's the thing.
No. That's Allie's ether blanket.
Oh no, I'm the one who came up with the ether blanket.
Oh really?
I talked to Travis about. Oh yeah.
Oh.
It would be a blanket because at no point in time would it ever be at some weird oddball point and nowhere else. It would be just that layer of hot air. That's it. That's all it is. Nothing special.
Sure.
It's a layer of less dense air.
You want to present?
That causes most of the effects that he's talking about. That's all.
Erebus, do you think that there's a difference between your upper visual hemisphere and your lower? Because I heard you on another stream saying that no, there's no difference. It's exactly the same.
I love how you try to misrepresent that. Do you understand the difference between what I'm not referring to the upper and lower angles? I'm referring to that dead straight ahead. There's a 5%. No.
Your angle to something.
Stop talking. Do you disagree?
Gotta be a good discussion, guys.
5 to 10% of your visual field, i.e., what's straight in front of you, the apex of the lens of your eye, is the clearest.
Yep. Agree.
You would agree with that? Did you agree with that?
I just said agree. Yep.
Goody. Okay. So what you're about to bring up is a non sequitur, because that's not what I'm talking about.
Not at all, because that's what I'm talking
That's
about.
still a non sequitur.
Okay.
You're trying to claim that it is different when you look up physically as opposed to when you're looking straight ahead. That central point, that 5 to 10% clarity.
Yeah, your
is still
eyes
there.
do not change. It's the environment that you're missing.
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to explain.
That still doesn't.
The environment is different. It does.
That doesn't
Yes,
change.
yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. That doesn't change perspective. It will
changes
never
the
change
way.
perspective.
Okay. I agree with you insofar as if you're talking about a clinical discussion of the angular size, but the atmosphere is going to dance with your perspective, and it's going to step all over your toes.
I'm sorry, Travis, but unfortunately, geometrically, your ether band wouldn't exist. Sorry.
That's because you think you live on a 2D piece of paper.
No. I'm thinking of it in a 3-dimensional flat plane, and it's
without atmosphere, right?
With atmosphere, with an atmosphere, with all the effects, you still would not be able to do that. I'm sorry, but any object in front of infinity is never going to do that. Ever. Because as the quote-unquote horizon rises to eye level, so does the land and every object on it and every effect on it. Your blanket would just simply rise.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Go ahead. No,
keep going. I was trying to time it right. My bad.
You good. Go ahead.
I was going to ask Gleem if this is what he wanted me to share. I mean, I figured on it be best that
it's just comparing the views. He's dismissed it instantly with a non sequitur. So put it this way. I totally disagree with you. Perspective, yes, does not change. Your actual mechanism in your eye does not change. You're steering me down that road. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the environment you're looking at changes, and your angle of view to that. If that building extended right to your perspective,
if I look up, does the angle of view change?
The angle of view doesn't change. But
okay, thank
listen,
you. So
wait there. Listen. Will you not let me finish a sentence?
Go ahead.
Why is it that you don't want me to finish a sentence?
Because I hate hearing wrong.
Right. So as it goes into, let's say one of the buildings went off to your perspective point, so you cannot actually see the end of it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What is perspective point?
The central perspective point that we just established everything converges into. Does that not exist in your world either?
It's not called that, but okay. Go ahead. Keep talking. Your
central perspective point.
Vantage point. It's called a vantage point.
If you type in central perspective point, I'm sure a lot of people call it that.
It's called a vantage point, man. It's just keep talking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Horses for courses. Yeah. Tomato. Anyway, so will those lines in each window as a reference to the floors, equidistant, will they converge and start to squash together with distance?
Yeah, that's kind of how perspective works.
Exactly. So if
wait,
no,
stop.
No,
Wait,
I haven't finished. I have not finished. Now move.
You made a point.
Now listen.
What point do you
now move from that. No, wait there.
What point?
Now move, please. Let me finish.
We're not moving on.
I'm just about to make the point. I'm trying to make the point.
Go ahead.
I'm seriously trying to make the point.
Erebus.
I did not interrupt you.
Erebus,
keep swallowing it.
Yeah, this was totally Erebus is out of line. Erebus is out of line.
Now move away from the. Now move away from the building. Let's say 1 mile, and take the same photo, and it still goes to your central perspective point. Will you see more of the floors? Will your angle, the difference in that angle, allow you to see more of the floors? Yes or no? Because of this widening or the shortening, the foreshortening being less because of your angle of view to it? Yes or no? Will you see more?
We're talking about looking up through a series of buildings. At what point do you move laterally where you would still be looking at the same point?
Okay, we are talking about an infinite building here. Come on.
Okay.
Going off into your central perspective point, which means it will still be in your central perspective point when you are a mile away.
I'm sorry, you've created kind of a weird scenario.
I'm dealing with yours because you wouldn't take my analogy. You're being pedantic and you're stopping me from delivering exactly that. All I wanted was a yes or no. Do you see more of these lines separated to your central perspective point? Each floor has got a line which is a reference point of, let's say it's a 10-meter line, and they slowly converge into one point in the center, yeah? With distance. Now, if you move away from that building, you would see more of that, and you would see more of these.
There you go again. You're talking about moving laterally.
Yes, which is exactly the same as getting altitude, looking across land. You see more of it.
No. God, dude, do you not understand?
Just say no, and we're done. I think the debate's over.
Let me finish. Let me tell you why no. All right, you're talking about apples. I'm talking about oranges. The perspective that I had him linked to, that little perspective shot of the buildings, is what's called a worm view, if I remember correctly, from art class. Worm's eye view. There you go. You don't remember it. Now, you're looking up. All those buildings appear to be converging, but they're not. Their angular size is reducing at such a rate that it makes it look like they're curving. Well, not curving, but leaning in towards the middle. You know they're not. They're straight as a board.
So perspective does distort then, doesn't it?
That's not a distortion.
You just told me perspective doesn't distort.
It's not a distortion.
I think this is a pointless conversation, to be honest.
No, you're trying to apply a word that doesn't apply to this. And then you clearly stated my case. I'm sorry.
And you're just babbling.
And then you gave a scenario where instead of going further down or getting further away from the convergent point or nearer the convergent point, you want to say laterally.
I'm trying to get you next to a surface.
Do you understand?
And treat the building as a surface.
Yeah. Okay, that still doesn't. All that does is it changes the angles at which they converge to. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
And you see more of it. You do see more floors.
No, you do not see more of it.
You would, because your angular resolution, your visual acuity would be able to resolve more floors looking at a different angle.
Word salad. You're just
that is not
word salad.
Visual acuity is a genuine scientific term. Where's you read that? Look up visual acuity.
You're mixing two different things. Visual acuity isn't necessarily directly linked with perspective in that manner.
Oh no!
It is not a one-for-one spot.
Your limit.
Yes, which it indicates that at 1 kilometer you would see you would still be able to resolve a 1 meter object.
Mm-hmm.
Gleem, you're talking about the vision limit of the human eye.
Yes.
That has absolutely nothing to do with the camera.
Everything converges to that limit.
Absolutely nothing to do with the camera.
I can tell you, Gleem, right now, no, I am blind as a goddamn bat, and I'm looking outside, right now. I still have lines ahead of me, but I can't read the sign across the street.
Yes.
But all the lines still go there.
That is standard.
If I look anywhere else, the lines change in accordance with my position. You're trying to link two different things. You're mishmashing shit.
I'm not.
Yes,
they're eyes.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Eyes, limits, and distortions. That's what it is. You have limits and distortions to your eyes. Yes or no?
Then
what does that have to do with the camera? That's I'm trying to figure out what
the human eye.
It is not based off of the human eye. It's two completely separate things.
Has it got a curved lens?
Does a camera have rods in it?
Has it got a curved lens? Does it
Does
capture
the camera have rods in it?
Gleem,
No, it doesn't. It's designed
No,
from
it
that. Come on,
doesn't.
you've
Your
got to
eyes have
understand the
rods in it.
concept of taking a photograph is capturing an image, a memory, like
And
what
you
you
don't
see with your
understand
eyes.
the amount of
Come
lenses
on.
that go into a camera. You're looking at things.
Someone is
You're
like
looking
hot
at
micing, and it is
information that was given to
creepy.
you that is based on human eyes. A human eye has a limitation. The camera completely negates that human eye limitation because
does
it can
not.
go further. Yes, it does.
It can go further, but
Okay,
it always
I
has a
want-
limit.
Well, yes, of course.
So,
but it negates the
I'm
human
not
limit.
understanding what the issue is. What it is not ramping up the floor at you. It is not doing that.
perspective exists, whether you're doing it in a camera, yeah.
Yes,
The
perspective
apparent
exists.
topology of the environment still exists,
John,
regardless
can
of what you're
are you
using.
done talking?
You cannot automatically
Yes,
pull out a device and it automatically becomes Minecraft orthogonal and you can see everything in actual real distance.
No shit.
It's
And you're
always
trying to
perspective
hijack
distorted.
it. It's not a
Yeah, and
distortion.
you're still
It is a
trying to
distortion.
base this off of the
It's a perceived geometry, not an actual geometry. Come on. This is standard.
Gleem, I'm gonna blow your mind. Do you know that every picture you see is perceived because it's taking a three-dimensional object and trying to put it into a two-dimensional object?
Yes, and there's distortions for it. There's even tools built into Photoshop to take away lens distortion, barrel distortion, whatnot. I know, yes. Every image suffers from perspective distortions as well as the device distortions.
So when you're using your distortion, your perspective distortion, that are based on the human eye, on a camera,
No,
do the maths come out?
No, you have a
No, they don't. But you've been in the side chat for the longest time using that same formula and saying that this is the perspective that you see looking through camera. Then you add pictures in taken through a camera.
Okay, what do you think a camera will add to it? When you pull out a camera without zooming in,
size, distance.
Okay, how long? How much distance do you reckon you can get just without zooming in?
Because that depends on the camera. Each camera is different.
Yeah, but
it gives you a limitation on it. When you get the camera, it gives you a limitation on it. When you get a lens, it gives you a limitation on it.
Let's say P900. Okay.
Gleem?
I don't know no P900.
Okay.
I think
Either way, I'm losing a battle, and I will graciously lose because it's hand wave dismissal time, and you're basically telling me that there's no difference between looking up in the sky and looking across land where half of the land fills your view.
It's not.
Yeah, and there's no environmental topology blocking that. Okay.
It doesn't.
And you're telling me that
the laws of perspective don't change just because you're looking straight forward. Do you understand that?
Listen, I told you that.
Acknowledge it, yes or no?
I just did. I said
yes?
the perspective of the eye does not change. It's the environment that is blocking you.
No, dude. You can't sit there and say the environment's blocking you.
It is.
How would that functionally work?
Because you have got a limit to how much you can see of the floor.
That's not the environment then.
Yes, because that's the floor.
That would be your angle of view.
Yeah. Just what I was explaining with the building, but now put the building on its side and make it everlasting, so there's a horizon line.
Gleem, on your orthographic view, you had buildings that were sitting down below the land, and you had the view that was leading over across the land. Now, what I'm trying to figure out was, are the buildings sitting in the land or are they sitting on top of the land?
Okay, let me show you.
No. Are they sitting in the land or on top of the land? That's what I want to figure out.
Listen, I'm just about to disconnect myself from this and show you the actual equation being used as a transform from perspective geometry to actual geometry.
Gleem, I addressed that particular one that you're going to probably use about the egocentric perspective.
Yes.
Yes. You chose something from 1957 from a single
who in he
psychologist.
is 2007. There's hundreds of papers here.
Okay.
I've got hundreds. I can just drop literally all the links that I've gone through.
And what were those psychological experiments actually dedicated to? Because they were psychological experiments.
Yes, perceived judgment of distance. And they're currently being looked at now for AI, where you're getting robots that need to perceive perspective. So they have to automatically undistort perspective. But there's no perspective that needs distorting in your world.
You keep saying distorting. Stop
it's
saying
a distortion.
That.
Everyone refers to it as a distortion in them 20 papers.
Yeah, and in all those 20 papers, those are all referencing the human eye.
And they're referring...
There's single camera images there. And they're referring to how to code a robot into looking through a camera.
You're not talking about a robot. We're talking about the ones that deal with...
Sean just said, look, it's all about the human eye. No, there's about 3 or 4 papers there that are all about cameras.
Yes.
And monocular versus binocular as well.
A camera... Yeah, perspective doesn't change if you close your one eye.
No, but there is an increase in width of field.
That's it. That's all.
Well, they analyze that as well. They're scientists. They do things like that. They analyze all situations, you know?
That doesn't change
Look
that
at
a human can you, I'm going to put it this way, can you look straight ahead and straight down at the same time?
What do you mean? How do you mean look straight ahead?
You just heard what I said. Yeah, straight ahead and straight down at the same time. Can you focus any other part of your eye to do
you look at one central you look at one central perspective, and then everything around that is peripheral.
Because you cannot change that. That central spot is where virtually every line of perspective will follow. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. And you're more talking about the eye again. And I'm talking, when you look out, everything appears to rise to eye level.
No. When you look up, that changes it, doesn't it? It doesn't do that when you look up.
Because there's no land to reference it to.
That
there is a central
irrelevant
in that building, and that building is appearing to sway left, which would have been rising up.
Oh, God.
Come on. It's exactly the same. And it's the same for when you're in a hallway.
They're not.
All you've got is laughing and just denial.
Yes. Tell me something. Gleem.
Show me something.
Gleem.
I've just put 20 papers in the side chat.
Gleem.
Show me something.
Does everything converge from the left to the right, and the right to the left towards the central point?
Of course it does. No? Of course it does. Perspective is perspective.
Does it work that way from the top to the bottom?
Everything converges radially into a central point. Let's just get that over with. Let's just stop going over this.
Okay.
This is basic retro rubbish. Come
on. Claiming that by looking forward is different than looking above.
I'm not. I'm saying there's land there. Your eyes do not change. I've said that many times. I care because that can block your view. That blocks 50% of your field of view. Yes, it does.
I'm sorry, Gleem. It doesn't do what you think it does.
Okay.
That's
where we differ. That's where we differ.
It's a part of the field of view, not blocking. Mm-hmm. Just as much as the buildings in the lower half of the worm's eye perspective. The worm's eye view.
Can I jump in real quick?
Not really, Travis. Let me finish my thought here. Just like those buildings, uniformly, radially, do the same thing. Looking forward is no different than looking up in that regard.
There is. I've just explained this with the building
and
it being infinitely long and to the horizon. You can only see a limited amount to it. Look, listen, if you were right next to the building, let's go right to the building and you will see less of it because it will be squashed into an even tinier angle. That is the point that you are not, you are avoiding, completely avoiding.
I'm sorry, but it's not a smaller angle from the bottom.
You stand next to that building, you'll see less of it. It will just be a little line. And you will not see any of the 10 meter blockers.
You're trying to claim, that the field of view below eye level is shallower than the
when
field
there's
of
a
view above
surface
it, and that's
or a
wrong.
reference point. Yes.
That's wrong. I'm sorry, Gleem, but that's wrong.
No, you're
Your
wrong,
Gleam of view
Erebus.
is I'm
So
sorry,
you
no,
can
I'm
see
not.
exactly the same amount of the sky as you can of the floor. Is that what you're saying?
I can
Why
see
can
the
you see more of the
same
sky?
amount of my field of
Why can you see all them stars?
I can see the same amount. I can see the same amount of my field of
Yeah,
view.
but why can't you
And
see the
everything?
stars on the
Everything
horizon?
converges. Everything converges towards the central part of my eye at the same rate, regardless of my elevation from those objects.
As long as you forget the environment and exactly what I've
No,
just said.
because my field of view is always central to my
Yes.
gaze.
I know I've agreed with
you-
that. And you're just
so-
ignoring and repeating yourself over and over again and forgetting
can't
the
have-
surrounding environment.
You can't have a shallower angle at your angle of depression than you can at your angle of inclination. It's
No.
the same.
Can I jump in real quick? Gleem, can you show him anything along these lines?
I've seen the shit
you
he's got.
demonstrate
He's got nothing. He's got a word. He has a pictorial version of word salad.
All I can say, yeah, that's what everyone said. But then when I come up with that Galinsky paper where they're saying in order
Galinsky is not the only one.
It's the U and He paper where they review the Galinsky equations and go back to it.
And I read that. Yeah, you picked that one because the Galinsky paper doesn't have any pictures. You dumb fuck.
No, it does, but it
doesn't. I read the Galinsky paper. It has no illustrations.
Well, either way, the version I had, the version I had real old.
You read a review, and when I looked at that, the
U and He one was then the updated one, which is what I used.
What did it say about the glow? Because it mentioned it.
Look, either way, I can't believe
no.
You are dodging the building, and
I'm not.
Say it out loud. Go into it. Yes, go into this.
Gleem.
Yes, go into this. Page 2, very top of page 2 on the right hand side is the equation that I've been touting for years.
Gleem.
And if you read just whatever.
What did it say?
Erebus, stop.
He's running away from it.
You can't expect him to have it memorized, okay? Does he have it memorized?
Why? I do.
Probably not.
Oh, no.
I know the formula memorized, but he's just...
I have it in my head. What it says... I know what it says.
Listen,
what's
don't
it say?
cross over into patronizing him. Don't patronize. Just have a discussion. Just have a discussion.
When someone is
actually agree with Travis.
Wrong.
I Erebus, you know me, man. I know. I get why you're angry. Let's breathe, though. Let's all breathe.
I'll breathe when I'm dead.
Okay. Just try.
Me, I'm blazing. I'll just become a mirror to whatever you present to me. Seriously, please just read that top right of the page, and then just that is the equation that I've been touting, and then other people have been doing it. So it's the distance equals the height over the tangent of the angle. Simple trigonometry. I got it from Excel. I done all my calculations in Excel, and there was an Excel trig sheet which to find the distance, the hypotenuse, you would to find the actual base, you would do exactly that. And that's all I did. And that's the formula I've been touting, but just because I've been calling it an apparent horizon line, which they say for an object located in a horizontal ground surface, the visual system can derive its egocentric distance on the ground surface using a trigonometric relationship.
Hold on.
Which is that.
Real quick, let me find something. Because one of the things that you're touting, there are other individuals that say...
That say what? Sorry, you roboted.
You're using this as a citation and claiming that that it's never been contested.
Listen, no, not at all. Not at all. The claim to me, which was a shout out by Al K, who's in the chat now, was saying Gleem's been touting this formula for years, and he's just made it up.
Yes, you pulled from.
Yeah, and he's just made it up.
I understand.
No. I calculated it. I first used it on trig, and then I found it there. And I also found Life is Short, done exactly the same calculations. And I thought, in first instance, when he was touting the exact formula that I was calculating, I was like, oh, he's copying off me. And then I went onto his channel, found that he's got a massive long video breaking it down in finite detail. Have you watched that yet, Erebus?
No,
Life
I
is
don't
short.
jump on every flat
No,
earth
well,
thing,
if you're a
owning
perspective
shit.
king, he's done heavy analysis, both photographic, looking at the angles on how, just basically looking down a hallway, one center of view, one from the roof, one from the floor, and it shows you exactly how, in percentage terms, the decrease happens, which would be, this is how childish I have to deal with. You're just not concentrating and literally not bothered. You're just here to argue and pretend I'm wrong.
No, I'm here to challenge.
Can I just bring up a couple things? First off, the one link that you sent for perspective space as a model for distance and size perception did not go anywhere. Just it brought up
it's basically
nothing.
saying that there is a difference.
But the one right above that, the one right above that, which was the distance determined by the angular declination below the horizon, automatically states in the very first page, a biological system is often more efficient when it takes advantage of the regularities in its environment. We're talking about the eyes, because this is from the Department of Biomedical Sciences, Southern College of Optometry, which kind of deals with the human eye, which is what I was saying beforehand.
There's plenty there that I've done. I've catered for that. I've put the camera in there. Single image analysis. It's probably third from the bottom.
It also states that these are all done below the horizon. Doesn't say above the horizon, doesn't say along the horizon or over the horizon, but below the horizon.
The one core question that arises all from my formula is, does perspective distort your view? That is a question. Okay?
That wasn't the question you originally brought up.
My whole
now you're changing your question.
Formula. No, my whole formula. The reason why I've looked in this is because I'm seeing all globe earthers just doing basic angular size differences, and I'm managing. It was basically Rory that put the challenge out. He had a view of mountains, Mount Rainier and St Helens and whatnot. Put a challenge out. What flat earther can calculate these? I calculated them per pixel based on a flat surface, and it matched the photograph perfectly. Okay, on a flat surface, not accounting for curvature. And he says, well, you've got to account for the heights of where they're all situated. And I just changed the graph and bang, it showed exactly where each of them were located based on distance. And so what I thought is, why is everyone doing it geometrically when I can just transform this or translate this view from a photograph as a flat earth, treat it, and it all works fine. And that was oddly when Rory retired. But anyway,
here is the conclusion from one of the papers that you cited. In the present paper, we reviewed and compared two theories regarding the perception of ground extents in locomotor space. The intrinsic bias hypothesis, which is your hypothesis, by the way, that would be Galinsky. Let me finish. Let me finish. No, you let me finish. The angular expansion hypothesis
has proven to be the better theory.
I'm sorry. Definitely. Oh, wait. And that's not Galinsky.
I know this. No, I know this.
So why are you using Galinsky as your modus operandi?
It's because the question.
No, you can't
say I'm answering now. I'm answering. Why are you interrupting while I'm answering? It is because of the ultimate question. Yeah. Is there perspective distortions to account for? That is what the whole question, the whole reason why I'm doing these analyses.
That is incredible. I'm sorry, but that is the definition of being disingenuous. You acknowledge that Galinsky, that there is another explanation
are you aware, Erebus?
No,
are you aware that my equation is not Galinsky's equation? You are aware of that, aren't you? You are aware my equation is not Galinsky's equation. Is that correct?
Which one is it?
Okay, Sean, can you put that, what you just put back on the view? Because
Which
that is
equation?
not Galinsky's equation. Please show me Galinsky's
Galinsky
equation.
had large amounts of equations. I'm on my phone, dude.
No, Galinsky had one variable, which was a slant error called A. Do you recall reading any of that?
You read the Galinsky paper, the paper itself, not the review, but the actual paper.
I don't care. In all of them, they all refer to
So that's
Galinsky.
a no. Just say
A.
no. For God's sakes, just say no. If you
I didn't hear
just
what
say
you were
no.
saying, to be honest. I'm just trying to get this. Here, look, that equation, if you read there, in equation 2, sorry, 2 seconds, let me hide my chat thing. In equation 2, H and A denote the eye height and the angular declination below the horizon, respectively. It should be pointed out here that we're not proposing that the visual system directly follows operational procedures specified by the mathematical equation above to derive distance. So they're basically saying that is just
keep going. I'm sorry, keep going.
Generic. No, listen, that is just
stop talking. Rather we believe that the visual system is likely to construct a perceptual space in which the geometrical relationship determines the object distance. As such, our analysis in this article is formulated to facilitate the understanding of the information parameters used for computing the perceptual space that leads to perceived distance. The potential of trigonomic strategy to derive an accurate egocentric distance. It's really small for me now. Okay, hold on. Distance depends on the visual system's ability to correctly represent the ground surface.
And you're saying ground surface has nothing to do with this, and there's no difference between looking at it. So,
because
anyway, stop laughing.
I'm sorry. Were those
read on.
The experiments were they or were they not conducted in a short space?
Of course they were, and there is another paper in the side chat which does it at about 3 miles. So you carry on reading. Everyone should learn this. It's brilliant learning.
Now, just for my own edification, which paper is this?
This is the Ooh and He, I think, 2007.
That would be the review of it then.
Yes. Okay. This is reviewing both hypotheses, and you can see. Scroll down. You'll see.
Sean, can you do me a favor? Go to the conclusion.
No. I want to see the diagrams.
No, let's go to the conclusion.
Because you've got to understand that my equation is not Galinsky's. Galinsky's had that A. You see it on the right-hand side? Mine is the one on the left, which is not Galinsky's. Yeah, Galinsky's is that slant error. You see that? So I'm highlighting, I've got to this side on my level of knowledge, on the A, the basic generic side. And now I'm discovering that there is accounts for slant errors and compression and foreshortening, which the globe workers for years have been doing exactly what you just did. This is science.
I'm sorry, but shh. Sean, go to the conclusion, please.
Go on. Go conclusion.
The paper has a conclusion.
Cool. There are many more updates as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change the conclusion.
Further confirmed.
French is faster.
Oh, and I just had to ask Gleem, and since this did deal with perspective and whatnot, did it say that? Did anywhere in the paper state that the ground is going to obscure the objects?
The space of the ground matters, which is one of the perceived distance distortions.
I'm sorry, but did it say that it's going?
Yes, that's the whole point.
No,
that's the whole point. That's the whole
point. It never states that even the distance is going to cause.
You see that these here, all of these graphs here, you've got one straight line, and that is your angular size. Yeah, and then the deviations from it is your perspective deviations, and that is simply it. Go on, read the conclusion. I think it's results and conclusion. There we go. You carry on.
That's not the one.
Okay.
Control F.
Everyone keeps telling me Control F. Just say find something so I can just do it the hard
Can
way.
I just read that last paragraph? Overall, the current experiment demonstrates that our theoretical analysis. Oh, you've just dodged it.
Yeah, my bad. Hang on, give me a second. I gotta find it again. I missed something when I was yelled at to Control F. There you go. That's the beginning of it, basically. Why is it all different? What the fuck did you guys do to my shit?
Type in conclusion. What are you doing?
You said this was it. Why are you yelling at me?
Killing me, Smalls.
And discussion.
It says no conclusion.
All right.
I don't know why it doesn't have one. That's...
Go to the very last paragraph.
If you go down to results.
Or if anyone wants to read more than that last paragraph, you carry on. I would love you to. I think
there's just more than like the results for different things. Seems to be a lot of them. 5.
Yeah, they'll have different areas, but in the end, I think it was literally what I was just talking about.
Actually, that last one just kind of showed it, which was related to neuroscience. That's exactly what it was showing.
This?
Cognitive neuroscience.
Yeah,
interpreting results in cognitive neuroscience studies that emphasize how the evidence forms cognitive theories of source memory. This is a completely different paper.
No, it's the same paper. It's the paper itself. Well, I think that might be, but
if you just scroll down to that bit, just put overall in. Yeah, search for overall.
What?
Overall.
I don't know where he pulled that one out. Okay.
That was where I was. If you carry on, there's right 2 of them.
This is where you were.
If you just type in the present
overall,
paper.
No, it was there. Overall, the current experiment demonstrates that our theoretical analysis, based on the ground surface, it keeps moving, mechanisms of space perception in an intermediate distance range can be applied to derive egocentric distances.
That's not the conclusion.
Okay, you carry on.
Those are results.
Find it.
Those are the results of discussion of the 3 graphs in Figure A and 4A and 4C. So
okay, the data doesn't matter.
That's all. That's all that this document gives you.
You carry on. You carry on and read.
No, there's still more to it, Sean. That's why the slider bar is like only like halfway, a little less than halfway through.
Yeah, you're right. It probably is, unless there's loads of citations in that.
Yeah, there are loads of citations, but look one more time. Okay.
We're at references
in the
now.
present. Just type in your thing in the find in the present paper we reviewed and compared.
In the present paper.
We reviewed and compared 2 theories.
Oh my god.
That should at least get you.
It's a different one. It's a different paper. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's not. None of that is in here. That's the whole sentence you said. None of it's in this.
That was a different paper then. Which paper is this then? This is the review.
It says a distance judgment function based on space perception mechanisms revisiting. Excuse me. Galinsky's equation. So this is like more of a blog or something, or just a snippet of.
It's a review back on the 2 different theories.
Yeah,
as Erebus rightly pointed out, there was 2 different theories in what could be creating this.
There's
could
not
it
even
be
distance,
judgment,
there was 5
or 6.
Yeah, look, this is page 4. This is just bits. This is not the whole thing.
Does it say technical notes? Does it say?
Yeah, let's go back right up at the top where it says optometry. Tang Lee, Pennsylvania College of Optometry.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what do you want me to do? Google that or?
Can you just read that top bit?
No, I'm not reading shit.
Or I'll read it, or just keep it still and I'll read it. Because it says, in her seminal article in Psychological Review, A.S. Gilinski successfully described the relationship between physical distance and perceived distance with the equation of D equals dA, which is her actual constant, divided by the A plus the distance, the actual distance. Okay.
So I still have the question as to how this affects a camera.
It doesn't. Not in that manner.
We'll pull up the either way. Either way.
Gleem, you've already admitted that
I've already pulled up I've already pulled that up. I've read through it.
Does the topology of perspective change when you look through an optical device? Come on, does the floor not topology of the floor appearing to rise to eye level? Does that not still happen through a camera?
God. It is not rising.
Okay.
That's
it's appearing to rise, and that is the
hold on. When you look down a long hallway, does it lead to a certain point? Does the ceiling and the floor converge? Hold on. Does the ceiling and the floor come together at the same distance, and come together to a certain point?
If you are directly in between the field of view, yes. If you are so small on such a massive surface, then you are limited to the amount of view that you can see on the surface. It does.
No. Outside of going below the floor, it's still going to do that.
Yeah, so you can see forever.
Technically, yes.
No.
Human.
Technically, yes. The human eye has a limitation. Again, we've gone over this. The human eye has a limitation.
No.
Technically, no what? The human eye does not have a limitation?
No, you can't see forever.
Yes, you're still seeing forever.
You're not. Light comes to your eye. Come on.
No.
You're still seeing forever. I don't know why you're laughing.
No,
because
you're not.
You don't get
You're waxing metaphysical, dude. You're totally going off the rail.
That's physical. You can see you are seeing forever.
Okay, what's your definition of forever then?
Forever, infinite.
Okay.
Without an end.
No, you're wrong.
No, I'm not. Do you understand why I'm not wrong?
Erebus, you do kind of sound a little crazy.
Well, no, the reason being is because there's a difference between seeing forever, being able to see things, being able to see forever, and being able to see clearly forever.
I get it now. There's no actual limit. Like there's no actual barrier that says you cannot see past here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
All I can say, I'm going to bow out of this because there is absolutely no point, because it's falling on deaf ears and just going over.
Gleem, stop that.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm listening. Trust me, I take it in.
All I'd really like you to do, you don't have to believe it. This is the good thing about you, each individual there. You don't have to believe anything that I say. You don't have to believe anything. I only started doing these mathematical investigations to try and see, well, can I pretend that I'm a flat earther and basically do the maths? And it turns out that, I can interpret anything the way I want to interpret, because I'm such a small thing on such a large surface. That actual degree difference, I mean, I can't believe people are denying that your perspective doesn't make the floor appear to converge with the sky at eye level.
No, stop that, dude.
On the floor.
You keep changing it.
At least.
Keep changing it.
No. There is a perspective convergence horizon. That's it.
God,
that is what that maths gives you. That's what the formula gives you.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It actually doesn't. Okay. And the fact that you keep referring to a formula that you yourself, if Gilinski if there's another formula, another theory that has better it has more explanatory power than Gilinski. But you keep referring to Gilinski. Why do you keep using Gilinski if it's
because she was the one that set the whole thing off? She was the one, the original one who said, "I'm going to introduce this constant as
That's
an error."
That's actually factually wrong. She's not.
No. You didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish. You just want to chat all the time and listen to your own voice. You didn't let me finish. She was the first one who mathematically formulated. That's why many of these refer back to her. Because she was the first one that experimented and demonstrated that perceived distance was not like angular size.
Read her actual.
But you keep saying it, but you keep glossing over the fact that we are talking about a camera and an eye. And
seriously, now bring up those camera papers, because this is boring me. Are you telling me that there's no perspective distortion in a camera? Come on.
Jesus Christ. No one's saying that there's no such thing as perspective in a camera. Obviously, we showed you pictures.
Right.
That's dumb.
So I explained the building where you move away from it, you see more of it.
No, you created a straw man.
You move closer to it, you see less of it.
You're creating
that is no straw man.
A straw man.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Laterally. You talked about moving laterally, i.e.
which is the same as gaining altitude. Which is the same as gaining altitude and seeing more of the land. Yes.
No. If you're moving laterally.
Okay, well, we agree to disagree. There we go. I just can't be bothered going through this. You don't understand how everything converges. I know how perspective works.
Do you understand that the lines of the actual lines, the convergence lines would change, the angles would change if you got closer to one building or the other?
Yes, of course they would.
The actual vanishing point would change. Oh. If you're not staring at the exact same vanishing point in that lateral movement you're doing, and even when you do, those angles will still change. Every variable you think that is supposed to remain somehow the same, it doesn't.
I personally, my own internal feeling is I should have just stopped the conversation back when you said that looking up to the sky is exactly the same as looking out across the surface, because I can't. Yes, to your eye, and then when I explained the topology is different because you've got no land or horizon. It does.
Putting things in your field of vision doesn't change the field of vision.
Either way, you're not convincing me. I'm not convincing you. Read the papers if you want to read them.
I read the papers and they don't conclude. They don't make the conclusion.
My question is: does perspective, regardless of whether you use a camera, or anything, a device, an optical recording device recording data, does perspective and the device cause distortions to the image? And in my eyes, yes.
In which you are
in my eyes, yes. Well,
what is
in my
a distortion?
Eyes, yes.
What is a distortion, man? You keep saying it. What is a distortion?
Well, you repeated it back to me. Those buildings don't obviously lean, but they appear to lean.
Right. This is where I believe we have to have something that we can look at and observe specifically to demonstrate what you're claiming, Gleem. I would agree with you, but I think that for him, it's too abstract.
No, it's not. It's just that he's wrong.
He's not wrong, because if you saw it, you would understand. No, he's not.
For the love of God, I'm an artist
by trade. For the love of God, that doesn't matter.
It kind of does.
Yes, it does. It kind of does.
Okay, well then
all the effects that he's talking about, like in his papers and utilizing perspective and things like that, I actually do that for a living. So
Sean.
As far as, and I'm gonna tell you right now, yes, I will say it again and again and again. Perspective. It doesn't matter if you're looking forward or upward. The mechanics are exactly the same. There is nothing special about it that's going to magically make things disappear from the bottom up.
Landscape will. And atmosphere.
You're one of those retards that thinks that a 1 foot wave
there's no need to
cover it. I'm sorry, but I have to.
No, you don't have to. I haven't called you any names, and I've wanted to.
Oh, go ahead, dude.
I know. That's not the point.
Welcome to the world.
Can I show you something? Can I show something to just basically?
You know what's funny? I think it's
show something.
Hey, Sean.
What's up,
Sean?
Yes.
You know, I used perspective to prove that old Travis here likes to manipulate his elevation when he does some of these these bits of footage.
Yeah, and you don't cross this line of calling me a deceiver, because
you are.
No,
I'm not.
You have no way. First of all, you have no way of proving your claim because you can't reproduce.
Yes, I do. I don't have to reproduce it. I can.
You're wrong,
dude. No, because geometry doesn't lie.
No, geometry doesn't lie if you're clinical.
And your inability to hide it.
I'm not hiding anything. I'm not hiding anything.
Why didn't you inform it? Then are you lying?
I'm not changing my location.
Yes, dude, for the last time, and I'll tell you again, I did not claim that you changed your location. I'm saying you changed the height of your camera.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
You did. Yeah, you did.
Okay. No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. And perspective is how I was able to figure that out.
No, because you don't take into account atmosphere.
Oh, that's you're not going to try that one because it would.
Yeah.
I know which one. I know which one was different.
I don't care if you know which one.
And you haven't done it again.
You don't know why.
Done it again.
That's because I'm not doing anything deceitful. Okay, I'm
not anymore.
Not anymore. Not to begin with. Not to begin with. No,
dude. Then just out of curiosity, why do you bring a lazy Susan to the spot?
I've already explained why I do it.
Why?
When I lower it to the ground level in order to keep my camera clean, I have something to set it on. That's
bullshit. Because you actually show it, and while you actually show yourself focusing on points, you're using it to take footage. Please don't try to lie. No one brings a lazy Susan.
Okay, listen. I didn't say. Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. While I'm taking footage, right? While I'm taking footage.
Why is it that no one has seen that footage?
Because I'm not presenting stuff I'm not presenting stuff across the water right now.
I've seen it. I've seen you use it in a video.
I'm not afraid of.
And you lied about using it in a video.
I'm not lying. Whatever, dude. Yes. Bring it up. Bring up my video.
I already said I'm on my phone, but I'll gladly show that. I'll show the reference points. Which that's fine. I'll have to look up the bloody wrong.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it.
You shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have compared two bits of footage together.
Oh my word!
You should learn not to do that.
Teach me, master. Teach me. So I'm picking up my dinner right now, so I'm going on mute.
Okay, so keep this on screen, Shawn.
Yep.
And can you see that, Erebus?
Erebus,
I can see. Oh no, I see it.
Okay, so your angle of view.
Hold on, let me blow this up a little bit.
The spaces, and you can switch this and look to the sky if you want. And those are two buildings each side. The closer you move to one, it will compress the building that you're close to. The further away you move from it, it will compress the opposite side and open up the other side. And the same for a vertical, because it all converges to one point. So he's done tests here where each light is a set distance apart. And he's actually done even further tests where he's put down golf balls at each segment. And he's managed to show that there is actual obscuring from bottom up of these golf balls as they go in the distance. But he, again, is using the same mathematical stance that I started with. And I'm not claiming, this resolves everything. What I'm more asking is why the hell ain't people reverse engineering these distortions when flat earthers are saying our perspective is being hijacked by this curve. So basically saying perspective equals curve. But then globe earthers 100% of the time just go, right, let's switch it into a geometric view without accounting for any of this.
Gleem, can I ask a question? Are the 50% lines supposed to be where his convergent point is?
No, that's where his horizontal point
So
is.
In other words, he's changing his field of view.
He's going from the bottom of the corridor.
Hold on. He's changing his field of view, but not keeping the same perspective point.
No,
At that point, no, he's not. He's not. If he's changing his perspective point, if he's not focused on the same point, he's changing an angular view of what is there. If you flipped up the one that is 8 feet tall, turn that all the way around and put that onto where the floor is, you're going to see basically the same exact thing, except his point of view is a lot different because he's changed where he's looking at. There's no actual horizon point he is pointed at, which is going to change how these pictures are going to look.
Look, there's multiple analysis. This isn't just for one. If you can see there, it's 1 hour and 57.
Yeah, there's a lot of lines on this. It's really hard to. It's actually really hard to see once you get to a certain point.
Shawn,
you've got to watch it,
right.
and this is the cut down version. This is the cut down version. He's done 3 or 4 experiments like this, including using a light.
Gleem?
I understand that, but if you're looking at it, the point, if you draw straight lines, hold on. If you draw straight lines on the floor,
yes, they will appear to converge the closer you get to the floor.
I
quicker.
Don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying that his angle, he changed the convergent point of.
You're cutting out Big Star. That's probably what I'm not understanding.
What he's saying is he's changing the convergence point.
He's changed where he's looking at. He has changed where he's looking at. Just because he's looking down the same hallway doesn't mean he's looking directly at the same exact point.
So he's looking 90 degrees is what you're saying.
Yes. That changes that, which also hurts the whole horizon rises to eye level, because
look,
floor,
I think that's a distractive point. The point is
that is
the closer you are to a surface.
No. You're doing it again. He just said it. He just told you. If
I'm not going to get
the
it.
camera is 90 degrees and he raised an elevation, the vantage point raises with the camera lens. That's why that line, that purple line going through the middle.
I don't get the difference between that and then standing on a mountain.
Because if they're
seeing more of it,
if the individual had only pointed, say, towards the floor in each series of elevation changes, then the floor would always be where it's at.
Yeah, but you can do a 90 degrees and be looking out to the horizon at sea level, and then go up 500 meters and do the same thing.
This shows,
and you will see more of the land.
The vantage point changed with the elevation change. That's why the purple line that goes through the middle isn't on the floor. It rises with the camera. So as it goes up, that vantage point.
I think you're answering a different point. I seriously do.
That's
probably what I'm not understanding. The whole point of this particular picture here now
actually disproves your theory in a way you don't understand.
Okay, I don't understand. Perhaps you should do a 2-hour video on it, because I understand this guy a bit more.
I don't think this guy understands what he's looking at either.
Okay, don't make that judgment before you look at it, please.
Yes, I'm looking at. I love if you utilize the convergence
fact that you think I took 2 different images from 2 different heights is just demonstrable that you have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've got proof, so I'm sorry, but you don't
have proof of anything. I've got the file. Listen, I've got the file.
That's nice. You have the file.
I went back on the same day. It wasn't the same day. It was the same location.
Remember, I didn't change.
Same location and same height.
Didn't claim you're at different location, but you had 2 different bits of footage, one from low and close to the water, and one at your normal tripod height.
Absolutely
not really.
Not really, because I remember that day and I did not drop to the ground.
Then I would tell you right now, stop putting in footage with that damn buoy number 17, and you'll find out just how
with the damn what? With the damn what?
Buoy number 17 exposes your lie. I'm sorry.
No, it exposes the fact that there are atmospheric distortions that happen all the time.
I'm sorry, because the buoy is closer to you than it is to the shore.
I know. Look, I can pull up like numerous files where it shows the same thing. Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, I've looked at so much of your footage, and I can tell you when the anomaly happens, I know what you did.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
All the lines. All the perspective lines tell me.
You know what's funny is that I'm not getting angry with you, because I know that you're wrong. Okay,
I'm not. You can say that. because you have something
I have
of
not
value.
used the Lazy Susan in the past 6 months.
You showed footage literally recently of you using it.
No, that's probably old footage, and I just demonstrated the fact that I have a Lazy Susan.
You did it during a live stream, numbnuts.
Was it for my camera phone or for my my P900?
I think the P900 was what you put on the Lazy Susan, and you were filming it from, I assume, sitting on a tripod.
No, you know what? What that was I was just simply showing you guys what I'd utilize at times. I wasn't filming at that moment with the P900 with the Lazy Susan. I just showed you guys that I have a Lazy Susan, and if you guys want to copy this idea, it's a pretty good idea.
Bareback.
That's what it was.
Bareback.
Excuse me?
He said he'll be right back. But to go back to what we were talking about, Gleem, on this one, the convergence point is not the same in the picture, and that's kind of what the whole point is that he's showing perspective, but he's not using the same exact vanishing point. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't understand. Okay, so let's go with
so
that.
when he changes
sorry, I was just about to make a comment there.
Yeah, but this was kind of the point, is when he changes the vanishing point, he is changing, to the topography. That's because he's looking at it completely different.
But this is what I'm not getting. The actual minuscule change of him actually pointing at a direct 90 degrees versus pointing at the center of the view every single time.
That's the problem. But that's the problem.
No.
He's not looking at a 90 degree. He's not looking at a 90 degree on some of these pictures, because his vanishing point on one of them is at the top of the ceiling.
How did you determine that? Sorry, because he's actually put the line right the way through and matched them up. How did you determine that? Do you see how all the photographs are up and down?
Yes, but if you look at the bottom, at the very last picture, you can see where those converging lines will come together below that purple line. If you look at the one at the very beginning, you can see where the converging point is on that purple line.
I don't get what difference that would say to the overall net picture of when you get closer to the surface, more of it compressed.
Go ahead.
Sean, can you just fast forward it to 1 minute and 19, I think it is? Or 1 minute 18 and 40.
Jesus.
1 hour, 18 minutes and 40 seconds, around there. There we go. So this shows when you're right down on the floor, obviously you see more of the ceiling than you would of the floor, because the floor is compressed into a smaller distance. You see the actual red line and the purple line. One of them represents the actual convergence point, and one of them represents where the skirting boards are all going into. So now, if you can just flick it a few seconds ahead, Sean, he then goes up slightly or down slightly, one of the three. There. No, come back. Yeah, about there. Unless he's starts chopping it in. Yeah. No, he's converted it back. There was just literally two views, which was just 1 foot, and all it basically was is when he was a foot higher, you can see more of the floor, and that's the whole point. When you go closer to the ceiling, you see less of the ceiling, because that gets compressed into a smaller triangle, let's say, to this convergence point, no matter whether it's in the middle or 90 degrees up to the top that you're looking at.
Right, and that's what I'm saying about the pictures that he was taking down the hallway. If you look at the pictures, his convergence point is completely different than the ones in the other one. In this one, where he's using the floor, there's going to be a slight issue with that, and that's going to be the reflection of the light. And that is a condition that he cannot change. Now,
it's present in every photograph as well.
Right. And that's creating a distortion that you can't that he can't account for, because of the light light being reflected back off of the floor.
Yeah, but do you see on the bottom of these two?
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
I see it.
you can obviously see there is
a
a splay. Let's say it's called a splay, where it splays out. The closer the surface you get, and the less you see of it.
Which one, on the lower left or the lower
on the
right?
right-hand side? He's lower. On the left-hand side, he's not. So he's 1 foot on the left-hand side, 1 centimeter on the right-hand side. And you see how, if the red line is the skirting board, I think, which is just the skirting board to the vanishing point, and the purple line is the actual horizon. I don't think he's actually put it on that left one.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell on.
But now,
you know, I'm not discounting anything. I'm just saying it's really hard to tell. That's such a small picture, and
put it this way: this guy.
I wouldn't put those lines in if I were putting something out. I wouldn't put those lines in. I would let the picture speak for itself.
Yeah,
that would, this way, you know, because those lines that he put down, you know, kind of detract from what he's attempting to show.
Regardless, he was just trying to get a percentage difference of going from up in the top of the field to down in the bottom of the field. And then
I have a slight issue with this picture, and that's the ball on the right. If you look at the ball and you look at the hump on the floorboard that's right next to it, you know, it kind of throws off the picture.
All I can say is he's narrating all the way through this. So seriously, rather than me, all I can do is say he has done this. I started doing something along these lines, and he has gone that next level and actually gone out into the field, done a recording, applied mathematics to it, and he has managed to explain curvature. So whether you believe it or not, it's totally up to you. You don't have to believe it, but there's his 2-hour story, and he'll show you maths.
I'll take a look at it.
If it was just a story without maths and without evidence and without an actual proper observation that he's analysing, and without the theory behind it, because if you scroll right the way back to the beginning, he takes quite a bit into account. It's not just, it's your angle perspective. He goes through the angle of incidence. He goes through light refraction and stuff like that. He's took time to do it. So if you say that flat earthers never have any maths, never ever go out and do experiments, it's a complete lie.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it, but I mean, what I'm seeing from these pictures is a lot of distortion from the light. And that, you know, and also the floor, you know, with the floor being reflective, that really doesn't help much.
Not forgetting, I'm presenting his information here just in quick to
exactly. That's why I said I'll take a look at it.
Seriously, yeah. If you want to sit down, I took it in chunks. I didn't do the whole thing in one sitting. I took it in chunks when he first brought out the big 3-hour. So,
yeah, but like I said, when he's looking down the hallway and he has that purple line and saying that's the convergent point of each one, it can't be, because if you look at the straight lines that go along with it, they don't lead to that purple line.
It does per pixel measurement. Yeah, I will say that per pixel measurement on these photos as well. He's not just rushing this. Put it that way. It's not just a rush job. And I'm not saying it's absolute, but I'm saying they've got an argument. Flat Earth has definitely got an argument when, and I find it hilarious when they're saying perspective's been hijacked. It's the curve, and Globe Earthers fight to the teeth to say that perspective doesn't have anything to do with anything. We just need to chuck any photograph into a side view, and that's it.
Yeah, but
we're done. Angular size it out, bang.
This wouldn't be showing perspective because of the way he's presenting this. Like I said, the floor really throws off his images. I'll take a look at it. Like I said, you
Definitely.
know,
He
but
may have a better one later on. He may have other ones. Seriously, look.
Yeah, it's just choppy, and like I said, the putting all those lines on just detracts from what he's presenting. Because if it was if it was very clear, he'd probably have a better argument.
Well, either way, you haven't heard his argument yet. You have only heard me saying this guy's done it.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, you know, if it was like with all the information that he has on here, if it was just the pictures and him narrating it and saying the information, it would probably present a lot better than including all the lines in and detracting from the image itself.
Straight away, it's put it this way. I will say the majority of it, and it's not conceptual in as much as it's just conceptual. It's just very conceptual because, as you can see, there is mathematical pixel counting as well as recording of heights. So he's been pretty meticulous on this, I swear. And the core of it is if you don't think that this distorts your view, this perspective look. Yeah, and I was on MC Tunes a couple of weeks back, and he was saying, how can something happen when you're looking down on an AE map? How can this sun take this path and look really curved? And I'm saying, because you're looking at it from a geometric view, not accounting for what a small little tiny ant on a massive surface would see. And it's funny how the globe earthers use the exact same thing for the reason why you can't see curvature. You're too small to see curvature. And it's I find it intriguing, put it that way, outsider looking in.
Well,
and that's why I bang on about it.
The other part about it is, you know, I don't understand the problem with if you're going to use images to show things, that they discount other images, but, you know, and this is both sides. How can you discount one image if you're going to accept another?
No, that's it.
It depends on the argument you're making about the image.
If it's an argument of, like, say, sending a balloon up to show the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah, what about it?
Would you discount it?
Not out of hand, no. I would probably discount the interpretation of the data, not necessarily the data itself. So, for instance, hold on.
Like with a camera, we'll say with a camera that's in a balloon done by an amateur, you know, sent up into well, as far as the balloon will go up. Would you discount something like that?
Someone like Dwayne Kellum.
No, I wouldn't. But let me bring it back, Shawn, to Erebus's accusation of my being intentionally deceitful, right? So he has an observation that he's interpreting, right? From what I can remember, the video that I present was the same day, two different observations from two different times. It would make no sense, Shawn, and everybody else in the audience, no sense whatsoever for me to try to demonstrate an observation by lowering my camera 5 feet and then presenting it as if I kept my camera level the same. It would make no sense, none whatsoever. But he's interpreting the data that he's seeing and saying he must have lowered his camera. He must have. And my point is, welcome to the ether band. Welcome to the way the atmosphere distorts what we're looking at. Either that, or it's also a part of the. I'd have to go back and see what the data is, but I don't know that I was in the water or if I was outside of the water. But I would have been set up from the same location each time. But
here that is one thing I have to say is the tides. If you're in the water and it's high tide, that's going to make a difference as to what you're going to be seeing with that buoy and everything else in the background, as opposed to when it's low tide.
No, not necessarily.
No. Necessarily,
don't tell
it will.
me no. Don't tell me no. First of all,
necessarily will, because you've changed the topography that is on the land.
First of all,
well, on the water, I should say.
Yeah. First of all,
that buoy changes with the tides.
First
it will
of
go
all,
up and go down with the tides.
First of all, it's
the level of the water is not going to change compared to the land in the background. Correct?
Okay, first of all, it's freshwater. Okay, so it's not ocean tides. It's not the same thing. Second of all, my observation is only using the buoy as a frame of reference because my focus is on the land 9 miles away, and the water is not obscuring the houses that should be there. Okay,
is that at the Chesapeake Bay?
Yeah,
the Chesapeake Bay is not freshwater.
It is when
the tributaries that lead off into the ocean. It's brackish water.
It's the Susquehanna River.
Yes, I am well aware. It's called brackish water. We have the same thing down in Florida.
Okay.
It's not necessarily freshwater because it feeds into the ocean.
I know what
it has a backwash. It has a backwash from the ocean along the bay.
I know what freshwater smells like. Okay, because I grew up near the ocean. I grew up near rivers. I grew up water skiing. I know what fresh water smells like. Okay, so I'm just telling you.
Look,
it's not. My point is that it's not the same thing that you're going to observe as in terms of tides on the shoreline of the ocean itself. That's all I'm saying.
So down here, the St. Lucie River flows into the ocean, but it is not freshwater. It's brackish water, because when you have a river like that leads into the bay, there's always going to be a little bit of backwash that leads into the water.
Okay, that's fine. It's actually a moot point in terms of the point that I'm trying to challenge, and that is Erebus is calling me an intentional liar.
That's his opinion. I'm just stating what I know.
I know, but I'm addressing
it. But if the tides do change on that river, well, they would have to if you're standing in the water as opposed to outside of the water. So something has to change the amount of water that's reaching the shore. So at that point, it's going to change the topography that you're looking over.
Only the water itself. It's not going to
change. The buoy's going to change. And also the height above the water that you're shooting at is changing.
Well, the height's always the same. I take my camera.
But if the water is raised up above even 6 inches above the feet of your tripod, that's changing the amount of distance between the ground and your camera.
I don't have a problem with what you're saying. Did you hear me?
Yeah, no. Okay. We were in agreement.
Wow, it's odd when that happens here. No, I'm kidding. I guess. So, someone in the chat, okay, go, wanted to come in, so I granted him permission. I don't know what their view is on the subject. I'm trying to find it right now. All I see is Seek and Find, Talking Shit, and some others. And Aaron, I'm not sure if you noticed it or not, but I'm handpicking who can be on the panel today. No. And I sure as hell will never sell the link for $2, bitch. No, you can't come save Travis for $2.
Aaron is great at proving the Globe Earth.
Did he say save me?
No. I was fucking with him. Because those times on the panels,
I was gonna have a word.
No. No. That's what he's been trying to do for you, but you kind of told him to shut up last time, so he did. So I was making a joke. Okay, so in lieu of all this, you may have noticed in the top bar of the screen are the super chats. I can't. I tried it, and I don't want to do it like Jose. I can't. Can't just be like in the middle of someone's like in-depth speech, be like, "Shut up! I gotta read a super chat." So this is what I'm
unless it's about bacon, right?
Maybe. So this is what I'm gonna do. Basically, you're gonna see them up at the top rack, like you can see right now. You guys can't see it, but everyone else can. Then once I get to them, then I take them off the screen. So that way, you people see them and everything, right? Perfect. So let's go through those real quick since we're in a lull. Actually gotta make my screen bigger to see it. 1 sec. Okay, there you go. Earth is seriously flat, thank you. He says, ask the globe zombie to explain vanishing point. Then he says, the whole blue marble is pseudoscience, test the ball. Okay. And then our wonderful one from Aaron, hey Shawn, good show, link me, thanks G, no. And then Soul Survivor, thank you very much for the $3 donation. I hope you enjoyed your little emoji. I'm not really sure why I picked the emoji, but apparently that's the new thing for Super Chat to entice you. Ooh. Yeah, exactly, Barney. Either that or I need to pay attention. One of the two. All right. Okay, Go is here.
So yeah, it'd be nice. Oh, sorry.
Okay. What's up, sir? Yeah, you gotta unmute yourself. Unmute down at the very bottom.
If you're on your phone, you got to click on the screen where it has everybody's icon.
Oh, yeah, you got to click in this area. I can't unmute anybody. It only lets me. Should be a little red microphone somewhere in there that's red right now.
Touch your screen, and the red microphone will come up. There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Hey,
all right, everybody can hear this?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Which allegiance?
Sorry about that. I've never used Google Meets before, so I'm a little bit new to it.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, the learning curve. Yeah, you wanted to jump in and on the discussion?
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking at the chat. I mean, I don't really know what Gleem's talking about, really. I mean, honestly, if y'all could explain what the actual dispute was about, as far as what's the.
Basically, it's whereas in angular size and your perception play factors, Gleem's position is basically it's something else, I guess. And Gleem, you should probably say in a quick 10-second what the hell you're talking about, because I'm not gonna lie, I gotta re-listen to understand myself.
Yeah, in a nutshell, there are additional perspective distortions other than your standard angular size formula that you should account for when taking any observation. And globe earthers do not account for that when they do this analysis. And that is what the flat earthers are saying is the curvature, is equivalent to the curvature. Them omitting that allows them to have curvature. There we go. Hope that explained it.
And what are those additional things you got to account for? Are we talking about like atmosphere type shit? What are we talking about?
Yep. Well, my point of view is there are perspective distortions on, obviously, put it this way, the device has a distortion where there'll be a distance distortion additional to the actual standard angular size, where the perceived size of an object can be bigger. And On the lens, obviously, there's lens and barrel distortion. And then the plain truth comes from the aspect of, in addition or just solely to do with this, he has atmospheric conditions, which he coined the umbrella phase as the ether band. I hope that
I would
represented you right.
I would say in addition to, not exclusive of.
One of you bastards gave Aaron the fucking link.
What? Who would do that?
You fucking.
That would just be wrong.
Oh my god, that happened. Oh my god, Travis, you're so not in my trusted circle anymore. Fucking Aaron.
You're out of the 901.
Okay, you know what? Aaron stays because he figured a way. Travis, you're an asshole.
He probably just made $5 out of that.
Look,
I ain't gonna lie.
No. I didn't pimp myself out.
So are you saying you did not give Aaron the link?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
We'll leave it at that then.
Can I just ask something, Sean, before we lose the money that you have just been paid in Super Chat? I would really love Sean and Erebus to explain how the vanishing point works when the vision, they've just explicitly, or sorry, not they, I will say Erebus did just state that we can see to infinity technically. But what is a vanishing point, as the Super Chat asked?
I believe the vanishing point is the curvature. Actually, I have an example. Excuse me. So when an airplane is at 40,000 feet and it's above you, it would appear at 40,000 feet, correct?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay.
So
that is your base marker, zenith.
Okay. So an airplane is traveling in the distance. It gets to about, we'll say, 50 miles.
Yep.
Now, someone, an observer, your friend.
Who's got a mic that's hot? Sorry.
I believe it's okay. Go.
Annoying.
Mike, mute yourself while you're. I know you just figured out how to unmute, but you got to mute yourself while you're not talking. Okay, perfect. Thank you. You got a friend that's 50 miles away, directly under the plane now. He sees the plane at 40,000 feet.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Now go back to observer A, who then now at 50 miles away, the airplane looks as if it's converging with the ground.
It's 100 and odd, but that would be about 45 degrees. Can we do the 45-degree one first?
You can do whatever you like, but regardless, it's curvature, and there would be no other way to explain it, because if you have two, and I added the second observer on purpose, because if we know that plane is at 40,000 feet and at 100 miles away, the plane appears to converge with the ground, we then have to take that into account and how that could be possible.
Okay. One thing that I'd really love to see, if anyone knows of anyone who's done this, and this may sound stupidly extreme, but you could possibly do it if you've got a very high telescope or something, but to do exactly what you're saying, to follow a plane going off into the distance to go behind the curvature of Earth. And if you understand, as it's going away from you, because it's curving around that Earth, there should be a couple of degrees where you'll see more of the fuselage than you should do, or you'll see less of it at the top, and that would determine whether it's going over a curve or just carrying on straight and just disappearing due to this limit.
Are you suggesting that it's going to angle following the curve? Is that what you're describing?
Yes, but not perceivable to our eye at all.
Right.
You would need something very, very, very.
Yeah. Right.
There's a problem with that, and the only problem with that is that the plane is running at an altitude. The plane doesn't care about the curvature of the Earth, but the way the altitude works above sea level is that it's going to continue at 40,000 feet above the Earth. It's not going to change. It's not continuing straight. It's going to follow the curve of the Earth. Do you see what I mean?
Sure, but that's still what Gleem is describing as well.
From your perspective, it would be similar to seeing curve. because you're seeing the plane just slightly bend its nose down, let's say. And I'm not one of these believers that say, oh, it can't be a globe because you'd have to keep pointing your nose down, because I think that is stupid, to be honest, because all you have to do is just take your foot off the gas, I would have thought, because you fall.
Exactly.
If you haven't got forward momentum, you're dropping to earth, aren't you? So that it just slightly taking your foot off the gas, you're going to drop and just constantly drop, and it will only be a couple of miles per hour, I would assume, to adjust for that. So I don't believe in that dipping nose. However, I believe from our perspective of something at 40,000 foot, you should be able to see, obviously, if you can imagine it, exactly what you're saying there, Shawn. At zenith, you can see the whole of the fuselage. As it gets down to a certain point, there'll be a point where you'll only be able to see the back tail of it. Yeah, so it will be like you're looking directly back tail. Yeah, but then as it's curving over the earth, before it just gets its nose to the horizon line, there should be more of the fuselage visible, and it's going to be fractional. Yeah, I'm not saying this is going to be an absolute, nail in the coffin or anything like that, but it would be interesting to see what would happen there.
Well, I guess that would be someone that would either live near an airport or something like that. They could possibly do that.
Well, if you're talking the horizon is about 100 miles away, let's say, or let's say for the sky from where it will converge, or either way, if you're saying what is it, three miles away?
Yeah, but here's kind of the issue though, because the plane is already at 40,000 feet. It's already miles up, and then if you're saying it's heading towards the horizon, that plane's going to be so small before it even comes close to the horizon, and that's also going to depend on where you're at. It would have to be over just say the ocean or something like that with a transit and with a flight heading over the ocean, because
I do understand that 100%, and that's why I was saying it would more have to be a telescope rather than any of the P900s or anything like that. Even though you can zoom right in on a P900, you must have seen them where you can, from the ground, view their window.
But even that's going to be you're talking. Oh, that'd be a lot of miles away. I wouldn't. I can't even calculate it right now. Well, truthfully, I couldn't even calculate.
Conceptually, it makes sense. I don't think it'd be physically possible.
It'd be really hard to do, because that's a long ways away. For that plane, it's already. Let's see, 40,000 feet. So.
Yeah, all my methodology is obviously that circle of arc up there would be bigger than our circle of arc measuring the floor. So you would get much more distance in as much as you can see it for a lot longer as well. However, it's exactly that. There is perspective involved in that view alone. Because if you say, as it gets halfway away from you, between your zenith and your horizon, it's at 45 degrees. Then you get someone 100 and odd whatever, or 1,000 odd miles away, looking back, it's at 45 degree in their field of view. And as it's lowering, it's getting higher in their field of view before it gets to zenith, observer B zenith. And then by the time it gets to zenith, it would have disappeared out of the view of observer A.
Yeah, I think I still think it would be really hard, because even if a plane goes up to 10,000 feet, it takes them. They have to when they're leaving the airport to get up to 10,000 feet. It's usually a flight path, so they're going to be lower and moving at an angle, heading over the horizon basically before they even hit 10,000 feet. So I don't know. A lot of stuff to be calculated in that, but
I guess it's just Wolfie's HUD then.
What's that?
I guess it's just Wolfie's HUD then. I'm joking.
Well, the other thing that you could possibly do is say you had say you had the plane and you had two people on either side of the plane, looking at it from a shoreline. The plane's going down the middle of the two people and seeing the distance.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
yeah.
And that's what Travis was saying. Travis was saying that exact perfect thing. If you have someone on board that plane communicating with you as well, that's perfect, because they can record their exact location in time and space, and you could have a three-way conversation, let's say, and one of you says, right, I've lost you, and the other one says, right, I've got you, and you know what I mean, you can record that and time differences and what.
They do that already using radio signals.
Right.
Between towers, that they.
You're right, but not for the reason that we're discussing.
Yes and no, because the radio waves reach only a certain distance. So and part of that is the curvature of the Earth.
Well, no, it's not, because there is no curvature. But my point is, regardless of the fact that they have radio
That's your
contact,
opinion, but
I understand. Regardless of the fact that they have radio contact, the reason they're doing it is not for the reason that we are discussing. So it would have to be done under that auspice, under those parameters.
Well, that's actually the dark zones, like the ones over the oceans and over the ocean and stuff like that. If they didn't keep that same heading, or if they came out of that heading in a different elevation, then that information is relayed to the radio tower that they're close to, or the flight tower that they're close to, which would give them the elevation that they're at, and they have to make corrections if they are off their altitude.
I would doubt there's much correction for curvature reverse, though. As I say, it's so slight and so minor. You can just take your foot off the gas. Just 1 mile an hour or something would drop you down enough to compensate for such over a large distance. Similar to how George describes Coriolis.
Hey guys,
it's so minor.
Guys, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the 10-minute warning, and then I'm going to address a couple people in the chat. So I just want to let you guys know. Go ahead.
Still want it.
Continue.
Yeah.
I thought you were addressing them here.
Oh no! I'm gonna do that after everyone goes and everything.
Yeah, no, I still want either Erebus or Shawn to actually give an explanation, or Erebus to explain why he said earlier, yep, you can technically think the eye as infinity, see into infinity, but what is a vanishing point?
He didn't say you can see into infinity. He said you see forever. There's no physical barrier. There's no actual moment where your vision is stopped by something. Just the fact that you can't physically resolve. There you go. You can't resolve to a certain point. Doesn't mean there's a barrier there. So he was just expressing something. It's not like a proven fact that you can see forever and you just blah blah blah. No, it's just the fact that it's just not a barrier there.
Right. It's just a resolution point.
Yeah.
Once you get to a certain point, your eye can't make out what is there.
This is the irony. This is the irony, because then you say when I'm on a surface, and that whole formula that I was presenting calculates the distance to your horizon of the triangle, let's say train tracks. It's the triangle of the train tracks going off to your vanishing point. And that is where the limit of your 0.1666667 or 0.02 comes into play. And that is not your acuity limit of everything, because anything, let's say a 12-foot object, you'll be able to see beyond that limit. But that is the limit that you can see of the surface. And that is the point, I think, a lot of people, I'm not putting across clearly at all.
Well, but that can be changed with optics as well.
Of course.
If you had a telescope, that's going to extend the range, and that's the point of a vanishing point is just a linear distance based on the vision. You know, whatever vision you are. You know, we'll say 40 millimeter lens. There's going to be a distance where it's going to reach a point where everything is going to come together. It's the same with your eye at that point. There's a distance where all of that information cannot be processed.
Yeah, I partially agree on that, but I will say that the actual limit of the distance is what you see of the floor based upon your height, and that is the whole purpose of that formula. And if that seems illogical, cool. That was something I formulated. I looked up the trigonometry functions in Excel. That was one of the functions. Okay, to do that.
Wait, sorry, I really don't understand that your height would have something to do with how far you can see. Like if you're talking about looking into the sky also?
No, it's to do with when you're looking across a surface. Okay, so the further away from the surface you are, the less it fills your view.
Well, there is a difference. You're talking about a 90 degree if you're looking straight 90 degree. But if you're looking at not directly at the horizon, but higher, then your field of view is larger.
The best way I was trying to explain it earlier as an analogy was if you imagine thought experiment, you're in space. You can literally have 6 foot people around you in a massive globe about 4 or 5 miles away. And let's say there are intersections and they're covering like longitude and latitude, and you're in the dead center of the globe, like the core of this imaginary globe. But there's no globe, it's just empty space. And there are a network of 6 foot people all the way around you, but are not connected. They're separated by at least 12 foot of space. Now, when you look all around this space from inside this globe of people, this network representing the longitude framework, so to say, longitude, latitude, you will not see any of those people because you will not be able to resolve it. Okay, do you get that? Is that a clear understanding as a thought experiment?
Yeah, I get it. But the only issue is that part of the reason that we cannot we have limitations is due to the atmosphere. So if you're in space and there is no atmospheric conditions, there is absolutely nothing, there is a possibility that you could see them. Each person's eyes are completely different. We use a base mean. We use a base mean for the limitations of our eyes.
I understand that, but if you can understand what I've just did, I've tried to take it out of real life, put it into a thought experiment,
put it into into a thought. I'm still with you. I'm still with you on that thought experiment.
Yeah, put it this way: we cannot get rid of this atmosphere. We're already affected by that. So
exactly.
Let's say the generic thing is we have a visual acuity limit of 0.02 degrees, which means that someone looking at a 6 foot person wandering off into the horizon will not be able to resolve that person around about 3.25 miles. If you're using the proper one arc min, then it's 0.1666. Can be whatever in between, whatever, but it's around that marker. There is that limit. There is a distance limit of where that 6 foot person, which is the same height as you will lose resolution of that person. Now, the flat earth argument is that the distance from your toes to your apparent horizon line is this 6 foot triangle. Yeah, it's like an upside down right triangle where the base is at the top going directly, and then your hypotenuse is the apparent rising floor. Okay? and your height is obviously the other side, the right angle side. So that is where that whole formula comes from. That idea, that basic idea of your visual acuity limit with a perspective distortion of an apparent rising floor converging with your sky, and that is your limit, and that's the sum, which is the apparent horizon equals the height divided by the tangent of your angular resolution of your device.
But here's the problem. Okay, we're going to go back to the plane. At 40,000 feet in the air, how high is that?
It's a few miles, isn't it? 6, isn't it? 6, 7.
40,000 feet is. Oh, now I have to do the math again. It's almost
like what, 8 miles?
7 miles, yeah, something like that.
A mile is almost like 6,000.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you can still see that plane, then the limitations on your eye make no difference. That 3 foot or that 3 mile on the ground makes absolutely no difference. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
so in our thought experiment in space, there is a possibility that you could make out that person. Now, the other thing is, if you have, we're going to go back to having a camera in that thought experiment. Yep. 40 millimeter lens.
Perfect. Yep.
Take that camera, you can see those people.
Yes.
But if you do that on the Earth, it's going to be completely different.
No, I disagree. You must have seen the ones where there's no ship on the horizon when they're zoomed out, and they zoom in with a P900, and all of a sudden the boat's there. And that's because that boat is there. It's just that your eye is not resolving it.
I have today. Hold on,
that's atmospheric conditions as well.
No, hold on, just real
and that's
quick.
What we were talking about on the Earth.
I'll let Ether Band Man take over. Tag team. And Travis.
No, yeah. I appreciate that. All I'm going to say is that I just uploaded today footage from Ocean City, New Jersey, on a relatively overcast but clear day, where I have ships that is small watercraft, not cruisers or anything bigger than that. There was actually a nice yacht that came by that was larger, but where I show you and I tell you on camera, this is what I can see with my naked eye. I cannot see this boat. I cannot see it. I zoom into it. And I didn't do an in-depth analysis of it, but I thought about it later today of doing that, of walking through and describing, because I have numerous watercraft on the horizon at different distances on the horizon. If that makes sense to you.
I would kind of hope so. I hope they're not on the same spot in the horizon.
At different distances. Terrible. At different distances.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what I mean. Are you talking about the horizon line has changed, or that the distance? I understand the distance from the boat is completely different. But are you talking about some are before the horizon, some are after the horizon?
No, I'm saying that I have a sailboat that is on the horizon. That is, it looks like it's right on the top of the water at the line where the line meets the sky, right? And then I have a boat that's on that same apparent line, but is farther away and smaller, right? So it's not on the same physical line, horizontal line, as the sailboat that's proximate to me. But if that were the case, then it wouldn't appear to be on the horizon. So it's just an interesting analysis that I have to walk through. I like I said, I just thought about it after I posted the video. But I also showed a similar one with Jose a couple of days ago. I plan on doing that same observation with Toady when he and I are able to meet up and do a hangout. I'm going to show him the same footage because I have two different ships that should be on the same horizontal line, that is the horizon, and they are displaying completely different angles of resolution and size, which don't seem to match up with what you would think you would see.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Are you gonna be going live today, Travis?
Not well. If I do, it'll be later tonight, but I just don't know what time I'm going to be finished up tonight.
All right, because Marty Moose has a question for you, and he can ask there. Because I'm gonna end it, and I want to ask more questions and keep going.
Did he post it in the chat?
Yeah, he did. Let's go ahead and go. Well, it's your first time. No, don't say anything. Don't. You already. No, don't say a damn word. Don't talk. No. Okay, go. It's your first time on the panel. Go ahead and lead off with the final word. You're muted still. You gotta unmute yourself.
Sorry, my bad. This is my first time.
No, Aaron, shut up. Aaron.
Anyway. Thought it was my turn.
No, it's not.
Real quick.
No. Or goddamn.
Yeah.
No.
Am I echoing?
No, you're good. Aaron, stop.
All right. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really heard anything convincing personally, but from like the flat Earth side. But hey, that's just my opinion. So yeah, that's my final word.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend.
No. It's for you, Shawn. It's for you.
No. Erebus, you want to go ahead? I'm not sure. Didn't he say he was be right back? He may not be back yet.
Yeah, I think he's tatting somebody.
Okay. No worries. But I do appreciate that from Erebus, his presentation and explanations for things today. It was fun. Gleem? And
Salute. Thank you very much.
I'd like to say welcome back to the panel. I do always appreciate when you're here. It's fun having a conversation and hearing your conversation as well.
Yeah, so let's push reality.
Yes. You want to go ahead and final word?
To OK Go, have a look in the side chat. There's loads of science papers. Don't trust me, trust the science. Experiment over. Put it this way, my unanswered question is, does perspective need to be accounted for in these curvature measurements? Yes or no? And you think what you want. I think, yeah. I think, why not? Sure, why not?
All right, thank you, sir. Shawn Smith.
Hey, Shawn. Great show. I actually talked quite a bit today.
You did,
which is kind of odd for me. But no, it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Nice and low key. I think this is what you were looking for a couple of shows.
Yes.
But Gleem, I'll definitely check out that video. Like I said, just in my opinion, him throwing all those lines on there just completely detracted from the information he was putting out. It was a great show. Thanks a lot, Shawn.
Yep. Sure. And I'm assuming that I have to be doing my later streams for you to see the paintings and stuff. So I may go live a little bit later on.
I got home after you started, and I was on a call with Mad DB and we were just hanging out, and I just bought canvases and stuff, and I was like, oh man, I want to get started, but I'm not even close to being set up. Well, plus, I was talking a lot.
Yeah. Well, I usually, like I said, I started noticing like you started doing those more like when I was doing my later streams, and I was like, oh, okay, I kind of noticed because I think the other day I did pretty early, I think on Sunday or something like that, and you hadn't. So I've learned. Don't worry, but I do enjoy it though, so it's cool. I think you appreciate.
I mean, I could start right now.
I'm leaving right now. I'm ending this bitch.
I see how you are. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm probably going to be going live a little bit later on, probably a few hours, just a complete BS open panel, so that way everyone who didn't get a chance to jump on can have their words and all that good stuff, and they don't feel left out like Aaron does.
It's a nice looking dog, Aaron.
It is. Aaron, that does not mean unmute. Travis, you're up.
Yeah, so in the words of a fantastic new parody called Stupid People on my channel, ether band, not the curve, is the word that rolls off the tongue. So it's not only perspective that has to be taken into account when we're talking about this, but also the way the atmosphere, the ether band affects what we're seeing. They both have to be taken into account, and they are not a part of the discussion. And so when we do that, I think that we will find that there is just as much a valid explanation from that vantage point as saying, well, it must be the curve. And the other thing that I was going to say again is that I do expect a retraction from Erebus, accusing me of intentionally lying, because it's absolutely not true. And I'm not really sure how to resolve that, but other than to possibly just let it go. But I have not intentionally deceived. Now, I will say, can I make a mistake and possibly put up the wrong file? Yeah, that's possible, but I highly doubt it. I'll have to go back and look and see where I got my file from. But I don't believe I did make that mistake. That's all.
Well, thank you for being on, Travis. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate everyone here that... fuck. Go ahead, Aaron. I wasn't going to let him. I'm sorry, people.
Hi, what's up, Shawn?
Hey,
I had
Aaron.
a question for Erebus.
Erebus isn't here right now. May I take a message?
Yeah, but okay, for the panel then. I guess it's for the panel.
Beep. Thank you.
The globe panel. Now, what if we took out the atmosphere? This is hypothetical, just like Erebus was doing.
Aaron, we're doing final words. We're not. What topic do you want to talk?
Okay, well, let me get my final words.
Yeah, but
can my final word be a
the
question?
Stream? No,
or
about
not?
the stream. No. You won't get an answer.
Well, I have a question about the stream.
But
so
you won't get an answer.
The answer is 7.
I'm gonna put. I know I won't get an answer.
Oh my God, I love when I do stuff like that. Guys, I do appreciate you guys being here. Today was a fun one. Today is one of those ones that I want to do a lot more. So, like I said, it doesn't get so hector-skelter. So many people aren't cutting each other off. So, do expect a few more of these to go on and open panels completely. To have a conversation about these things. If you haven't heard, Rumpus and Barney have agreed to my terms and positions, and they're going to let me know when they're ready to battle it out over the topic that I've picked for them. To seek and find, yes, Thursday. How about this? You have to come with some answers or don't come at all. Free-minded, it would be a pleasure to have another discussion with you. Again, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm tired. I want to end this now. Otherwise, I was going to play your observation of the moon with someone in Australia that 100% deep. No, you know what? Let's do that right now. Here you go. Let you guys listen in on this. One second, I can get it over here. I wasn't gonna play it, but I decided to anyway. Good for me, yay!
But hey, Jill. I think that the question is, and I don't know what y'all meant by y'all question, but I think my question is similar. Cause we went over this about 2 nights ago when me and Bong were both looking at the moon, right? I'm looking south. I'm in Japan. He's in Australia, right? I'm looking south. He's looking north. We can both see the exact face of the moon. The moon looks like a plate staring at me. I can see the exact face that Bong can see. How is that possible? It's just okay. It's flipped. Like his little sliver of dark side was on the opposite corner of the moon than mine. but we're looking at the exact same face, and we're both opposite of each other. I'm looking south, he's looking north. How does that happen? Nah, but hey, Gio.
Yeah, so again, like I said, free-minded, your observation was perfectly explained and observed every night on a globe. Digital, if you live in South Australia, do me a favor, take a picture of your moon, and then I'm going to find someone who's in Japan, free-minded, that was willing to take another picture and see what we come up with. So like I said, free-minded, anytime you'd like to have a conversation, more than welcome to. You guys keep saying that we deny and don't change our narrative. I have changed my narrative. I've actually gone back and forth because I didn't understand things thinking I did, to understanding things and now understanding a lot more to explain how we live on a globe, and I'm doing so. You guys say we live on flat Earth. Well, free-minded, you come with your stuff. This doesn't include you at all. But seek and find. You only ask questions. Again, Thursday, if you want to come on my panel and have that discussion, you have to have something. And if that makes me dishonest, then what are you? Yeah, free-minded, I did take a segment of that. And I will find the whole excerpt of it so you guys can hear it. The reason I actually edited it was because in between that, free-minded, if you remember or not, basically your other friends decided those were times to just randomly yell out and curse and be an asshole. But I'll play the whole thing tomorrow. No problem. And other than that, guys, I think I'm gonna get out of here. I think that was everything I wanted to express. Again, thanks to everyone that came on the panel, because you guys didn't go all ape shit, and I appreciate that. Again, that's the fun part about doing the streams, when you can get those type of live streams in and you get information that you really want. I will be most likely, don't press me on it, but most likely I'll be streaming a little bit later on, and I'll do a full open panel so everyone can get on and enjoy the fun of talking shit. And for everyone who knows, yes, I did end the hangout before Aaron got a chance to finish his speech, only because Aaron snuck his way into my panel due to Travis. And so it is official. They are butt buddies, not on a gay idea, but just it hurts my heart. I thought me and Travis and his truck horn were forever. No, seek and find. I am not a flat earther. I am a glober, and you are a globe denier. Thank you, my friend. Peace.